me. Happy New Year, everyone. Please be safe this weekend. CNN News is the source. We're going to take a deep dive into who Mr. Shamsuddin Jabbar was as a person. So far, I've not heard anything negative as far as his demeanor, how he talked to people, treated people, but naturally it's a ongoing investigation. There will always be somebody who may not have something kind to say about the decedent. But so far, the brother has come out, two men who were in the armed services with him, and they have not said anything derogatory pertaining to these, to the decedent, Mr. Jabbar. I've also reached out to two of the men who are in the news commentary. I've not gotten a response, but I hope they join the Queen to give us some type of insight into who this man was. But naturally, you don't know people. So what you know of someone 10, 15 years ago, common sense would tell you anything that they're bringing from the news, from video files, conversations he had on Facebook. It's vague. And if you're not talking to the person, you don't really know what they mean. So you're just going to assume what he said in videos. And so far, I'm not really getting a clear picture of what he was trying to do, what message he was trying to send to the universe by mowing those people down in New Orleans. At the moment, it's being said by the FBI that it was 100% inspired by ISIS. He acted alone. It is an act of terrorism. 14 people killed, wounded dozens more, including a student, former college football player, parents of young children. He planted two, typically used to construct explosives, a law enforcement source said. Now, also inside that Airbnb in New Orleans, he left behind laptops, and I won't doubt they probably have other things were discovered in making and putting, this concoction together and whatever else he was doing. I'll wait to see what else they find or tell the public what was left behind in the Airbnb. But right now they're telling us that chemicals were found at his home in Houston. And these are the type of chemicals used to make explosives. White House has seen no evidence of foreign direction or involvement in the attack. Source familiar with the matter told CNN President Joe Biden is expected to visit New Orleans on Monday. About a year before, he drove a truck up that Bourbon Street in New Orleans, killing 14, wounding dozens of other people. An account bearing Shamsuddin Jabbar's name uploaded 3 audio files discussing religious views online on SoundCloud. Now, this is previously, about a year before. A voice heard in the clips matches other videos of Jabbar that CNN has authenticated. The account has a shortened form of his name. It says the user is located in Houston, where Jabbar resides. Instruments to Satan's Voice, which was the title he gave the file. Satan's voice is also the misleading of people, gradually drives a person to things he believed God has made forbidden to us, quote, unquote. Wow, wow, wow. Here's a brief map of where explosives were found down in the French Quarter, if you're familiar with the New Orleans downtown area. One of the victims. Nakara Cheyenne Dado, 18. Terry Kennedy, man. His sister posted that, I'm sorry to have to tell y'all, he didn't make it. He was so loving and kind. Sister mourns death of New Orleans victim. Her name is Jacqueline Kennedy. She was pleading to the public to find her brother Terry, who had been celebrating on Bourbon Street and was missing after the January 1st attack. It's very sad. He told me he was on Bourbon Street and we wished each other a happy new year. We each told each other we love each other. She told WDSU. I said, Terry, be careful out there. And he said, you know me, I'm going to be all right. Terry was one of 9 siblings and loved the city of New Orleans. He had his own way of being comical, you know, but he was so loving and kind. You could get him to do anything. I'm going to miss my brother, Jacqueline Kennedy said. Wow. Biden has spoken to the families of the victims. Federal agencies advise law enforcement to look out for potential threat of copycat attacks. This is one of the other victims, Tiger Besh, former high school football coach, visited with the victim before his death. Army buddy, no red flags, great soldier, phenomenal friend. Trevor Neal, once again, I reached out to Mr. Neal, have not got a response. You're going to hear commentary from him as well, from a news broadcast. He was a normal individual, no red flags, great soldier, phenomenal friend. He told the CNN affiliate KHOU. I buckled and I couldn't talk for like 20 or 30 seconds. It was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Neal told KHOU. And it's very unfortunate that he, JABBAR, took that path. City Council President wants more federal resources pertaining to this New Orleans attack. Once again, President Biden will be visiting New Orleans on Monday. Now, there's talk, of course, pertaining to this, the selling of ISIS. It's significantly more difficult to stop than organized efforts like those seen on 9/11. CNN senior national security analyst Juliette Kagan and CNN counterterrorism analyst Philip Mudd has explained some of the most persistent challenges in terms of counterterrorism, counterinsurgency over the decades are people inspired by religion because, of course, they believe that God is speaking to them, saying that there are a divine need for you to go act in this case, the Bourbon Street incident. And perhaps that's what happened with this man. He was diluted. He felt like God was talking to him because when you hear this conversation about the music, well, what type of music was he listening to that he felt was not, what's the word I'm looking for? Representation of God or God-like. Rap, rock, R&B, jazz. Then he also talked about instruments. So which instruments did he feel like weren't representation of God or using Satan's voice? The harmonica, the flute, saxophone, drums, guitar, electric guitar, piano. See, that's a sign right there there's something wrong with him. There's something wrong, okay? Vincent, you need to go find you something to do, okay? Stay out my chat. Find you something to do. Okay, the story isn't about Hendersonville, so find you something to do. The sick part is that there's obviously something wrong with him because it's one thing to say, well, he was upset about his life, the marriages, children. This is the same person that was trying to kill his own kids, family, whomever. Don't know which ones. So we'll just say family members. So there's something wrong with a person that would even think, to remedy my problems, I'm going to kill my family, okay? Now, they're going back a year listening to audio files from SoundCloud, and he's talking about music can affect the heart, instruments. So what has an instrument done? How's an instrument Satan's voice? This shows you that there's something was brewing with him, brewing inside of him. He was delusional because there's nothing wrong with an instrument. You either like that instrument or you don't. And an instrument doesn't have any value until someone picks it up and starts playing it. Let's just keep it real. A guitar, piano, flute, harmonica, it's all the same. So the fact that he found a problem with music I don't know which type of music he was speaking of. You go from the music to the instruments. I mean, we have all types of instruments. So what's wrong with an instrument? This to me is a sign that something is wrong with him. Something was wrong with Jabbar. Because he's going from thing to thing, person, situation. And you're also going to hear that in his divorce decree, trying to get a divorce, he was crying he had debts. $1,450. That's not a lot of money for rent in America, especially right now. So if you're crying about less than $1,500 in rent, especially for a house, this just goes to show you there's something was not right with him. Because I went over the divorce file last night, saw the divorce paperwork on the news, and also I pulled up the divorce decree that was also posted to Facebook, and I'm trying to understand how he thought $1,450 was just an astronomical amount of rent when you're making $120,000 a year from Deloitte. And I also brought you all that commentary yesterday that he worked for this prominent company headquartered out of London, England. And the base salary was $120,000. So people are going to look at that, $10,000 a month or less, taking taxes out, of course. How are you crying about a $1,450 from your pay for a mortgage or rent? It makes no sense. I think he was just mad at the world. And that's what happens with people when they're angry. Every little thing is bothersome to them. Okay? When people are unhappy, everything is a problem. The way the curtains hang, okay? The way the pot sits on the stove, trickling water out of the faucet, the birds chirping. You see where I'm going? They're going to have a problem with everything. And then too, if you have mental illness, PTSD, which I don't know if he had either of those issues, he's going to be even more wired up. OCD, bipolar, whichever, little things are going to tick the person off. It's not going to take much to set them off. And a lot of us are like that. We have our quirks. Little things irritate us, little noise, sounds, and usually that comes from having PTSD. So did he have PTSD? Because now we're going into the ridiculousness when you start talking about instruments. How's an instrument bothering you? You don't like jazz? You don't like the music that's used in jazz, such as the saxophone? Don't listen. You don't like piano? Don't listen. Kind of like coming in this chat. You don't like the hostess? Don't listen. Don't turn on YouTube. It's all the same. You don't have to listen. So what music was bothering him? This just goes to show you there's something wrong with this man. He was delusional. He probably had a lot of mental issues besides what he was going through in his failed marriages. We now learned that he was married 3 times. 3 times. 3 children. Living in what some may consider squalor in a trailer. No offense to anyone that lives in a trailer or the Muslim community. You're also gonna hear that this the faith prayed, but he didn't go to the mosque that was near the house. I thought maybe that's why he moved in that trailer, was to be close to the mosque and to save on money. You're also going to hear the brother. He's spoken. He started dressing modestly, growing a beard. So this is probably where the change was coming in with Jabbar. He was starting to change, starting to, what some would say, act out. Yes, he could have been schizophrenic. Someone says he understood what it meant to be a Muslim, and that's what I've seen from him in the time we got closer, Abdur said. How he carried himself and how he treated other people. It wasn't anything of this nature. It wasn't this tragedy. It was the complete opposite. And this is his brother speaking. Abdul, who had 3 children, 2 ex-wives, never let on that anything was bothering him or that he was in any financial trouble. The pair were not close growing up because of their age gap. There's an 18-year difference, if I'm not mistaken. But connected after their father suffered a stroke August 2023 and then spoke almost daily. They became closer, with the older brother offering career guidance and life advice. The last time Abdul saw his brother, 6 months. I'm going to play that commentary for you. Shamsuddin Jabbar's father said he lamented not having a chance to talk his son out of the attack. How do you know what to do if they don't tell you? Raheem said, adding that they were close. We would have certainly tried because we knew it wouldn't have been a good ending. Abdur said he still views Shamsuddin Jabbar as kind and compassionate despite the attack. I'm in no way condoning what he did. What he did wasn't right, Abdur said. But there's still a line between what he did and him being the human being and the brother he was to me. And see, that's what people have to understand about human beings. Everyone has a different perception of people. One person likes this person, somebody else don't like that person. Now, the person could be nice to you, but they're not nice to this person over here. So it's a matter of what you want to believe and perceive the disposition of the human. Because people are going to say nice things about this man. But the flip side is that he was in turmoil with himself, and he went out and acted out a very deadly attack against humanity. So it's up to you, your interpretation of what you perceive Jabbar to be. A good man who cracked up? A evil being person who was pretending to be nice and killed people? Or he's just evil? You're entitled to your interpretation. Let's play some of this commentary, everybody. Welcome to the Vault Excel. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $Beganji129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream, bringing you the latest updates pertaining to Mr. Jabbar and the witnesses and the people in the hospital, people recovering. We're going to hear from the doctor, latest updates pertaining to the victims, prayers for New Orleans. And also I'm going to throw in here, the police chief said she didn't even know that the sidewalk had those bollards, which I find that very strange. Now, I don't know why they would be on the sidewalk, because then that means how would people be able to walk on the sidewalk if you had the bollards on the sidewalk? I don't know what the hell's going on.
It's been more than 40 hours since a man plowed through crowds of New Year's Day revelers on Bourbon Street. Slowly, things are returning to normal, while investigators continue to comb through evidence to learn more about the suspect. Good evening, and thank you for joining us as we continue to follow developments on this attack. I'm Devin Bartolotta.
And I'm Sheree Gibson. New information has been pouring in all day. Earlier this afternoon, bars and restaurants along the street reopened, all while we learn more about those killed and injured. And right now, the FBI is saying they do believe the suspect acted alone.
Just a few hours ago, the FBI released new photos of the suspect, Shamsuddin Jabbar. Take a look here. These were taken from security cameras as he placed coolers packed with explosive devices around the French Quarter. The images were taken just after 2 in the morning.
Just an hour later, Jabbar barreling into people for nearly 3 blocks before crashing. He was then shot by police. We also now know that only 2 explosive devices were found. Those were at Bourbon in Orleans and Decatur in Toulouse.
Lily Cummings has been out on Canal Street today. Lily, what are things looking like out there tonight?
Sharice and Devin, the traffic is flowing on Canal Street now. As you said, Bourbon Street is now open. You also see a lot of law enforcement presence out here tonight. And behind me, a growing memorial, one of many that we've seen so far, for the 14 victims who tragically lost their lives in this incident.
The confidence is there to reopen Bourbon Street to the public prior to game time today.
Traffic returned to the French Quarter Thursday afternoon, roughly 36 hours after a terrorist drove a truck down Bourbon Street. More than 30 were injured in the attack. 15 were killed, including the suspect, 42-year-old Texan and Army veteran Shamsuddin Jabbar.
We do not assess at this point that anyone else involved in this attack is involved in this attack except for Shamsuddin JABBAR.
The FBI says 2 explosive devices connected to the attack were found in the French Quarter. The FBI had previously said it was looking for suspects who may have helped plant those devices in coolers.
Those were just patrons on the street that were looking inside the coolers, right? Well, we didn't know that at first, so we had to kind of track all that down and put that to rest.
That raised questions about how a fire started at the Airbnb JABBAR was renting in the St. Roch neighborhood after he was killed by police.
There's a lot of different ways that could happen. You could have different time devices. You could have a long cord that extended that time. You could also have pressure cookers that were put on top of the stove filled with gasoline, and then it went off. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but that is why our ATF National Response Team is here.
Prior to reopening Bourbon Street, these large metal blockades were installed on the sidewalk. NOPD Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick was asked if she was upset they weren't in place the night of the attack.
It's not a matter of being upset. This is not a matter of pointing blame anywhere. A terrorist is hell-bent on destruction. This man was going to do his best. And if it hadn't been on Bourbon, he was going to go somewhere else.
That's true.
State Police, Homeland Security, the National Guard.
Now, that's very true. Her point. He was going to hurt somebody. Many people are going to ask that question. Why did he travel from Texas to New Orleans? Why did he pick down there? Some people in the chat said, someone said, it's known for drinking, acting a fool, people getting drunk, prostitution. But guess what? That's everywhere. It's New. People are just doing what they want wherever. But I it's strange that you would drive to New Orleans because, as she said, he was going to do what he wanted anywhere, on another street, another block, Texas, Mississippi, wherever he wanted to go. But the thing is, I think his mind was already unraveling. And that's the thing people don't understand. Mental illness, PTSD, schizophrenia, you don't know that the person is already suffering and having issues until the bang comes, which is this incident here. They start acting different, not combing their hair, not keeping up their hygiene. They're talking all the time. They're talking to themselves. They're talking in circles. They're not making any sense. Those are the signs that something is wrong with the person. More than likely, people saw signs that something wasn't right, but they just didn't think he was going to go out here and harm people. They didn't think he was going to go, put explosives in coolers on street corners. I'm also wondering why those didn't detonate. I find that strange. Why are you putting them in coolers and they didn't detonate? Now, I'm not trying to say I wanted them to detonate, but I just think it's weird. You would put them in the coolers. People are walking by. People are curious, nosy. They go open the cooler, and that's dangerous because imagine had they exploded. Would have blew off a head, an arm. It's just very interesting information. Renting this Airbnb to do whatever he was doing in there. Don't even know what he was doing in the Airbnb. So obviously he drove from Texas, made videos on his journey, checked into this Airbnb, did something in there. So we have to ask that, what was he doing there? What was he doing in the Airbnb? And as his chief of police has said, he was going to exact the crime wherever. It's just naturally we're curious to why he went to New Orleans. But the point is he was going to hurt somebody. Another thing, those bollards that's on the sidewalk, you see they were metal. I've never seen anything like that on the sidewalk that I have ever visited or lived. So this is new to me, the visuals of those bollards. I've never seen anything like that before on a public sidewalk.
Guard and JPSO were just a few of the agencies standing guard with the NOPD.
Our city is stacked. That includes Jefferson Parish. The state of Louisiana is in this together. This isn't an Orleans Parish issue. This is a law enforcement issue and a state of Louisiana issue, and we're going to defend it.
And tonight, the FBI is urging anyone with information about the suspect or the attack to fill out a tip form. You can find that on our website. There's also a number you can call. That's WWLTV.com. Reporting live from Canal Street, Lily Cummings, WWL, Louisiana.
As you see, there are memorials behind the reporter pertaining to those who lost their lives New Year's Day in New Orleans on Bourbon Street. Now, will New Orleans put those metal bollards on sidewalks? One thing I can say, God forbid you're running and you trip into one of those, you're probably going to have a very nasty accident. Just saying. Will they have sturdier bollards put up, metal bollards in the street to block any car, or will they be using city trucks, police cars? Which ones will they be using to block off the streets? Number one. Number two, will they be using those metal bollards on sidewalks? How many are they going to use on the sidewalks if they do decide to put them on the sidewalks? Or are you just going to put them at the entry of the street as so the person can't drive their car, truck, or whatever onto the sidewalk? All I can say is it's still an obstruction in case it's an emergency. But see, that's the whole point. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So just like when this incident happened, the ambulance, the workers, they've got to be able to get to the people. The bollards and trucks, cars are blocking the street. Now, how the ambulance going to get down the street to get to safety to help people if they're hurt, pass out, having a stroke, heart attack? You understand what I'm saying? So that means you got to park your ambulance out in a public street or corner, jump out and push a gurney down a damn block. Stay woke. So I don't know how this is going to work out. And actually, you have streets that connect other streets. So then you got to ask about that. When you start blocking off a street such as Bourbon Street, which runs, they say, 3 blocks. The side streets, are they also going to be blocked off? And so traffic can't come on the side streets that connect to the block street. It's a lot to digest.
Behind you, actively putting flowers down on that memorial, Lily. Thank you so much. While Bourbon Street is starting to get back to some normalcy for 14 families, everything has changed.
Yeah, right now we know the names of 10 of those victims who lost their lives while celebrating the new year.
In New Tonight, family have identified 63-year-old New Orleans native Terrence Kennedy among the victims. Other victims include St. Thomas More alum and Princeton football star Martin Tiger Besh and Nicole Perez, who is a mother from Metairie.
Also, Reggie Hunter, who we're told was visiting New Orleans from Baton Rouge on a whim. 21-year-old Archbishop Shaw alum Hubert Gautreaux, and University of Alabama student Kareem Bawadi. Auburn University alum Drew Dauphin, 25-year-old account executive Billy DeMaio, 18-year-old Nakaira Cheyenne Dido from Gulfport, who was visiting with her cousin and friend, and Superdome audiovisual technician Matthew Tenedorio, who tonight we are learning more about.
Whitney Miller spoke with his mother about his short life and the tragic ending that has changed everything.
We're going to stop there. I'm going to show you a few little things. Man praying. Memorials have been put down on the street sidewalk for the victims. As you know, Bourbon Street opened up yesterday. Sugar Bowl went forward. Notre Dame won 23-10. Georgia lost. This is what the bollards look like. This is Bienville Street. But that space there, you still could drive around that. You see what I'm saying? Is this the end of the street? Where my finger is? Because that's still a lot of space from there to wherever this is that you can still jump and go around. Stay woke. One of the victims in the hospital speaking to the CNN correspondent, Anderson Cooper. Lord have mercy. What a mess. according to the wreckage that early morning, New Year's Day. View from the balcony where people did film some type of device in the street. Assuming he crashed that. It's very weird. One of the victims, he's that guy there in the corner, Matthew. Princeton football player. Tiger Besh, Matthew Tenedorio, Reggie Hunter, Kareem Badawi, Hubert Gothrow, Drew Dolphin, Nicole Perez, and Billy DeMaio, all ranging from the ages of 25 to 63 years of age. New Year's Day.
He was the most beautiful baby. Oh my God. 9 pounds, 10 ounces.
For Kathy Tenedorio, the feelings are unimaginable.
Nothing prepares you for anything like this, losing your child. And, you know, you hope you can hold on to them till they get old and you die and they live on. But it's not God's will sometimes. And you just have to accept it and be strong for other people, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Kathy's holding strong for her family after learning her baby boy, 25-year-old Matthew Tenedorio, was one of the 14 killed. Only hours before chaos ensued on Bourbon Street, Kathy says the family spent a joyous evening in Slidell.
It was just a very fun time, relaxing, loving, and then around 9:30, you know, we're going to head off. We're going to head into New Orleans. So we just all hugged each other and gave each other, a big love you, Happy New Year. Talk to you tomorrow. Please text me when you get home.
But Matthew never made it home. Kathy says when they couldn't reach him, they called the friends he was with.
And they told us, Miss Kathy, something bad happened last night.
They told how Matthew was split from the group when a terrorist plowed down Bourbon Street in a white pickup truck. No one could find Matthew.
We found out that University Medical had a conference room set up because that's where the morgue is, and that's where we went next, and that's when we found out he was dead.
Kathy says now all that's left are the memories of a young man who was reliable and dependable and who shared a joy for life.
He was like, "What are you doing up, Mom?" And I said, "I'm going on the beach. I want to watch the sunrise." And he said, "I'm coming with you." You know, he was adventurous like that.
Even though you didn't want him to go last night, it sounds like you had a big goodbye with him, though, still.
I did, and that's what I'm holding on to and treasuring, that God allowed me to have that time with him last night. You know, he could have just gone in the city without, you know how kids are.
And it's why she wants all families to hold on to their loved ones and cherish every second you have left. In New Orleans, Whitney Miller, WWL, Louisiana.
Condolences to Matthew's parents. This gentleman here, who's in the hospital bed, talking to Anderson Cooper, was visiting from Pittsburgh area, and the truck plowed into his wheelchair. And that's him in the hospital bed, praying for his safety and recovery as well. Wow, 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 wow. How devastating. to be out trying to have a good time, and you can't even do that because somebody has decided that your life is not valuable. You're not important. I want to play a little bit of that. Wait 1 second, everybody.
But as soon as I hit the ground, I think I came right back awake. The first thing I remember when I hit the ground were the gunshots. And as soon as I heard the gunshots, I was thinking in my head that I would hope I was clear from the gunshots. And I thought that's kind of why I was on the ground. In my head, I thought, well, maybe I'm on the ground because of the people were shooting and I was on the ground to get away from it.
So you heard shots? Did you see anything around you?
No, I didn't see anything. Like, while I was hearing the shots, I was still like disoriented. And the whole time I was like pretty messed up. I really didn't know what was going on. And I was just glad that I didn't get shot. Like, I was thinking, the gunshots, I'm laying on the ground, I should be safe. And then my leg was messed up. I kept messing with my leg. I'm like trying to figure out what's wrong with my leg. And I saw this stuff around me, which was parts of my wheelchair. So I started scraping it, trying to find my phone. I really couldn't tell what was what. So I tried to get my phone. I wanted to use the phone. I was going to call my wife and tell her I was alive.
Your leg, you were bleeding. I mean, you were bleeding.
I think that I was bleeding, but it was my leg was just broke, like in a bunch of different pieces.
There's a photograph taken from overhead where the truck is, and you're on the ground.
Yeah, the truck was to my right.
So did you heard shots? Did you see anything around you?
No, I didn't see anything. Like, I was screaming, help, 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 help. And finally, a guy came over and said, listen, you're allowed to be, you're lucky to be alive. And he said, people aren't as lucky as you.
I heard that somebody put a mark on your forehead saying you were alive.
Somebody came over and they put a yellow X. And I asked, what does that mean? And they didn't tell me. But later on, I found what it meant. Because whenever they care, what they did is after a while, I'm not sure how long it was. The time was like forever. I mean, I felt like I was there forever. I was laying on my back, and there was a guy named Patrick. He was one of the cops that was dressed up in like the army fatigue color. And eventually he just stayed with me. After I told me I couldn't walk and I was paralyzed, he stayed with me. And I asked him what had happened. He said, we don't know, we're still trying to figure it out. And I said, was it just a drunk driver or something? Did someone blow up something? Because I didn't know. I still hadn't put two and two together if the truck had done anything really. And even though I had seen the truck, I never even thought that that's what had happened because I was so out of it.
When did you learn that it was this person in a terror attack?
Today.
Wow. Andy Cooper.
A tragedy for so many families. And this morning, just before reopening the street, local leaders held a private vigil. And throughout the day, we have seen memorials growing. Lily showed us one just a short time ago. But all along the street, people laid flowers, stuffed animals, and more in honor of those lives lost. We also saw a sign inviting everyone to a vigil Saturday night, though we don't know exactly who's planning that service. It is likely that many more visitors will come out to remember the victims in the days ahead.
And keep learning more history and the possible motives for U.S. Army veteran Shamsuddin Jabbar to launch such a horrific terrorist attack in the name of the Islamic State.
WWL Chief Investigative Reporter David Hammer got the first interviews with some of Jabbar's former Army colleagues Wednesday.
And today he has more details of how Jabbar might have become radicalized.
Just hours after the attack on Wednesday, I spoke with Trevor Neal, who trained with Shamsuddin Jabbar in the Army Signal Corps back in 2010. Thursday, he made a TikTok video to share his feelings after learning his friend was the suspect in the Bourbon Street terror attack.
So for 28 weeks in Fort Gordon,
Sham was my friend. There was nothing out of the ordinary from he was a cool, chill guy.
Peter Heap was another soldier in that same IT training class. He told me Jabbar started writing pro-Islamic posts on Facebook.
I think sometime between when I knew him and now, he got radicalized.
Now we're learning about Jabbar's mounting personal difficulties that may have pushed him to the breaking point. Records from Texas and Georgia show Jabbar was divorced 3 times, in 2012, in 2016, and the last time in 2020. That last case was very contentious. Financial records from 2022 show Jabbar with mounting debts, and his ex-wife alleged he committed fraud in payments to her and their child. Jabbar told his ex-wife's attorney he was facing foreclosure. Then, a year and a half ago, Jabbar moved into this compound in Houston in a tight-knit community of devout Muslims, but neighbors said he did not attend the nearby mosque. Thursday morning, a neighbor who did not want to be shown on camera talked to our sister station, KHOU.
When he comes in, he was Muslim, as a Muslim. I didn't know what happened to him before. I didn't know anything before, what his background was. I was in the military. I learned anything just everybody is learning as well.
The FBI Deputy Assistant Director Christopher Reyes says that sometime before this summer, Jabbar started professing allegiance to the Islamic State terror group ISIS, and they want to know why.
That's the stuff in the coming days as far as that path to radicalization that we're really going to be digging into and making a priority.
Reyes said Jabbar rented the white pickup truck used in the attack, drove it from Houston to New Orleans on New Year's Eve, and posted 5 videos between 1:29 and 3:02 in the morning.
In the first video, Jabbar explains he originally planned to harm his family and friends, but was concerned the news headlines would not focus on the, quote, war between the believers and the disbelievers.
At 3:15 a.m., Jabbar drove the truck with an ISIS flag mounted on the hitch and plowed through the Bourbon Street crowd, killing 14 and injuring about 3 dozen more. And when he exchanged gunfire with police, Jabbar was the 15th to die. It was an inexplicable turn for Jabbar's former Army comrades.
So what you cared about just takes a left turn.
David Hammer, WWL, Louisiana.
Another piece of the puzzle here. When Jabbar was a college student in 2015, he was featured in the Georgia State University newspaper. He talked about his struggles adapting to civilian life and dealing with financial paperwork for the GI Bill.
And the St. Rock area neighbors.
So he obviously, like many people, we have our quirks, we have our complaints about life. Complaining about the GI Bill many years ago, trying to go to school. Obviously, the government making it hard for these young people to try to go to school. They've served our country and they can't even get through the loopholes. It was said in his commentary back then, he had to make sure that all the paperwork was correct or they would find a reason, not to give him or any of the young people monies for them to go from the GI Bill, which, that's the stipulation now. Everything has to be on point when you are asking for help. Especially when you're getting anything from the government. Anything local, state, federal, you got to have all the I's dotted, T's crossed in your paperwork. And even now, despite what he's done, it's still a shame that someone has to wrangle with the government to get damn money for a school or a house or housing. But they make everything hard. Anytime you deal with the government, I don't care what it is, HUD, Social Security, welfare, food, disability check, welfare check. You need help with a pair of shoes, a bus pass. Anytime you go to a local agency for help, it's like pulling teeth. They want to know everything. Naturally, prevention of fraud, I get it. But my God, the people who have served this willingly, didn't go through a draft, signed up to go to the military on their own. The problems they have afterwards, that's what's shameful. Is trying to get just adequate help to better their lives. That is the reason why a lot of these military people pop off once they are out of the military, because they can't acclimate back to civilian life, which we hear Jabbar had a problem acclimating. He said he didn't know how to talk. He didn't know what to say. He was using a lot of military talk. And that's kind of strange because in your mind, you're thinking, well, you're a grown-up. You don't know how to talk. You don't know how to say, yes, ma'am, no, sir. So I found some of that kind of odd. But we have also heard this from other people. Trying to get back to civilian life has been difficult for many people. I think it's because of how they lived. They're on a time clock. They're always being told what to do. So when they get out, it's kind of like, you know, Alice in Wonderland. You're looking around, everything's fresh and new to the eye, to the ear. Nobody telling you when to get up, what to eat, how to act, how to behave. The people don't know military talk, military time. You can't relate because you haven't been living in the free world. So it's the same thing like when people who are incarcerated. They can't wait to get out, but once they're out, they tend to have a problem navigating amongst the free. And I've always said that about incarceration. Your test is not in the prison per se. It's when you're freed. How you going to navigate once free? That will determine if you'll stay free or go back in. And possibly that is the same for people coming from the military. What do I do with my time? What am I going to do for work? Because running around with a machine gun, jumping in and out of waters, it's not the same out here in the free world where people drive cars, take the bus, Uber, go to work, go to school. You coming out to try to decide, what am I going to do? Go to school, work, what kind of work am I going to do? I don't have any skills. I don't have any training for out here. I trained in there for that life. Now I'm out here in the free world, civilian life. Nobody knows about that life. Nobody cares about the military life. You know, they pat me on the back. Hey, thanks for your service. But then they're on their way. They're gone on to their life. And we've also heard of military people coming out who didn't have anywhere to go. They didn't have family. They don't have a place to stay. They don't have a family's house to go stay until they get on their feet. See, a lot of people, men and women, join the military because they don't have a stable background. So someone will say, well, join the military. But see, at some point, you're going to want to come out of the military, unless you're going to just build your entire life around the military. At some point, you still want to go somewhere when you're off of being in the military. They give you leave to leave. Well, you don't have anywhere to go because you don't have any family. You don't have parents. You don't have a sister. You don't have a brother. You don't have a grandparent, auntie, somebody's house to go fly to. You see where I'm going? It'll be a very lonely feeling. Serving your country, and then it's time to go home, vacation, or your tour duty's over. You don't have anywhere to go. Just food for thought, everybody.
Neighbors tell us Mandeville Street is no longer an active crime scene after law enforcement spent hours searching for clues at an Airbnb the suspect stayed at. It caught fire hours after the attack on Bourbon Street. Public safety sources say it wasn't a big fire and was quickly extinguished.
And go back to that.
Firefighters did notice strange clues at an Airbnb the suspect stayed at. It caught fire 2 hours after the attack on Bourbon Street. Public safety sources say it wasn't a big fire and was quickly extinguished, but firefighters did notice strange things like a gas can found in the room where the fire started, tools and wires, and a drill left out, and asked for a fire investigator. ATF Special Agent in Charge Joshua Jackson says they're still working to figure out if Jabbar could have set the fire before the attack. As agencies searched the home, nearby residents were evacuated.
Wow, wow, wow. Are you hearing that? Fire set 2 hours after the attack on Bourbon Street. Now, remember, he put 2 IEDs on public streets down in the French Quarter. They didn't detonate. Now we have a fire at the Airbnb where he stayed after the attack. Gas can found in the room of the fire. So now you're going from building the supplies in Texas, evidence found at that house at the trailer, fire in the house at the Airbnb Manville, IEDs on public street that weren't detonated. artillery in your truck. You did use one gun to shoot at the cops. They returned fire, killing him. This man was glutton for mayhem. What in the hell is going on? See, I don't know. Don't know if the fire is on a timer. Left behind the laptops. They were able to recover the laptops from that Manville Airbnb. What will they find on the laptops, devices, phones? Who else is going to come forward to tell a story about this man? Queen was doing some digging in the late night, trying to find the wives. We have now 3 wives. Atlanta is now in the picture. I messaged a woman on IG who had the name of the wife on the divorce document. Queen don't usually reach out to people much in the stories anymore because just sometimes it's just a bad omen reaching out to people. But anyway, a certain person on YouTube has a picture of a woman on his videos saying that's the wife. But I found a woman who don't look nothing like that lady. And this lady looks like a white woman. She only has 1 post, and it's a picture of her. Don't know if this is his wife, but she has the same name. Shanine McDaniel Jabbar. But no other posts, but 1 post of a picture. Don't know who this lady is, but I do find it odd. She's got the same name as what is going around on social media and what's on the divorce decree, the last divorce. He's been married 3 times, and each marriage lasted 4 years. 4 is his lucky number, or some would say unlucky number. What happened in these marriages? As I told you before, in the divorce decree, he's crying about $1,450 for mortgage, but yet he owed $27,000 in back mortgage payments. Do the math. Where are my mathematicians? Divide it up. Make it make sense. $1,450, $27,000. How is that possible when you make $120,000 a year? You've kept the job. Failed real estate business, possibly right when COVID hit, understandable. But if you have the skill to do what you did, to go work for Deloitte, you're out the gate at $120,000. So did he start making $120,000 when he first went to work for Deloitte? Deloitte, giving their condolences, verified he did work for them. Help us understand how a man can't pay $1,450 in rent, making $120,000 a year. Credit card debt, who did he owe? What's on the credit card bill? Blenders, toasters, furniture, whatnots, the same shit I talk about all the time on this network that don't got no value. Everybody breaking their neck to go run to Ross and Belks and Macy's for some cheap shit from China. Yeah, I'm talking about y'all out there. It's time for everybody to tighten their you-know-what about this consumer nonsense. Buying all this cheap stuff. You don't want it. You don't need it. Nowhere to put it. But it looks cute. It's on sale. It's marked down. And you fuck around and you end up like Mr. Jabbar here. Overwhelmed, credit card debt. Can't pay your bills. Can't pay your rent. Trying to please people. And then one day you pop off. Because the world is on your shoulder. The weight of the world is on your shoulder. This is why I said, you got to check yourself. Who you deal with, who you talk to, who you married, who you dating, how you spend your money can lead you into the abyss and be like this man. He's not the first. He won't be the last.
I mean, it's terrifying and traumatizing. And, you know, it's very distressing to just be uprooted out of your home and early in the morning with no information and no reason, and have to take your small child and just figure out what you're going to do.
The FBI says they recovered 3 phones and 2 laptops from the home.
3 phones, laptops. What is the real reason for him following ISIS? As I said before, when it comes to mental illness, there are usually signs that a person is becoming detached from reality. I won't doubt that he showed signs and nobody was listening. We've seen it with Lori Vallow Daybell. We've seen it with the lady who had her kids down at her girlfriend's house, found the kids malnourished. The signs were there. Stopped talking to her family, friends. The signs were always there. Husband left. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. But see, that's the whole point. You can't tell somebody how to be. Take your meds. Go to church. Repent. You know what I'm saying? Act right. You just can't.
This is new video showing Shamsuddin Jabbar on New Year's Eve in New Orleans. The FBI says just a few hours after Jabbar is seen here removing something from that Ford F-150 he used to carry out the attack, he posted
News headlines would not focus on the, quote, war between the believers and the disbelievers.
While what drove Jabbar to such extremist beliefs is not yet known, 13 Investigates is uncovering documents that show he went through 3 divorces and apparently had financial struggles too. This is new video showing
financial. 3 divorces, children, failed business, joins Islam or was already a Muslim before. Don't really know. So you gotta understand, when did he join Islam? As a child, young person. I heard something yesterday about him doing it when he was young. What's young? 15, 16. Father, Muslim. His brother, his name's Abdul. So you gotta know all that, because that's the start of the story. You gotta go way back into the book of life. You don't start at the trailer park. You gotta go back. You gotta go back in the book of life. You gotta go back to when he was a child, how he was raised, who raised him, problems with parents, not problems, when he went to school, how he acted in school, college, military, what did he do in the military, when he got out, what happened to him when he got out. See, that's where your story goes. That's the start of life. Because he didn't just wake up and say, I want to kill my family. So now, as I said before, why did he want to kill his family, but then decided, okay, I'm going to drive to New Orleans and mow these people down? Because that's extreme. It's extreme to want your family dead. So who did he want dead? Why? They don't want me. They don't love me. All my marriages only last 4 years. I'm racking up credit card debt for this and that, this and that. Everything's a choice. Nobody told you to rack up your credit card bills. Come on. We got to keep this real. At some point in life, we have to take responsibility for the stupid stuff that we do. You don't want to rack up your credit card bill for high heel shoes and Gucci bags? Don't do it. You know you can't afford the house loan? Don't sign the loan. You know you don't need that motorcycle? Don't get it. Can't afford the BMW? Don't get it. And the banks, they have to take responsibility too, because we learned that when the economy fell back in 2008, that these banks were giving out loans and they knew damn well these people couldn't afford the loans. Which that makes no sense. Why would you give somebody a loan knowing they can't afford it? But allegedly you looked at their income and said they could afford it. Make it make sense. But everything is still a choice when it comes to credit cards, passing bad checks. He has a misdemeanor for theft. Could that be a bad check? Credit card fraud. We also hear that the wife said he committed fraud in trying to pay her child support and alimony or whatever. So that would make you wonder if maybe he passed a bad check and it bounced. When you go into his divorce decree, you will hear him talking to the lawyer. Hey, I got to get this divorce settled. I'm broke. I'm draining. I owe mortgage payments, which I don't understand what that's all about. I don't understand how you can be owing somebody $27,000 in mortgage payments. So I'm assuming the bank seized his home, and that's how he ended up in that trailer park with the chickens and sheep running around. Brother claims he became modest in his appearance, grew out the beard, Probably stopped dressing in real nice clothes. But as you see here, when he's walking, putting the IEDs on Bourbon Street or wherever he was neatly dressed there. Nice dress shoes, nice overcoat. Looks like his hair was thinning. Hair probably thinning either naturally or from stress. Take your pick. Let's hear from the brother. Welcome to the Vault XL. This is his younger brother, Abdul, that you're going to hear from. Lord have mercy, what a mess. Hearing, as I said before, somebody plotting your death but changed their mind and killed other people instead of you. Wow, wow, wow.
Everything still doesn't seem like it actually happened.
14 people dead and dozens of others injured after a truck plows through New Year's Eve celebrations on New Orleans' Bourbon and Canal streets. 24-year-old Jabbar assumed someone was having mental health issues or was angry. He didn't think the driver would be his own brother.
I just dropped my phone and crawled into a corner somewhere and started crying.
With an 18-year age gap, Jabbar says he and his brother, 42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar, weren't always close, but had grown closer since their father suffered a stroke in 2023.
He was coming around a little more often to check on him and if there's anything he needed.
Jabbar says his brother was kind, caring, and compassionate, a description completely opposite to how the world has come to know him. Since the deadly attack, FBI has found evidence Shamsuddin talked about killing his family as well.
That's unbelievable, honestly. I can't imagine doing anything like that.
Jabbar says his brother only returned home to Beaumont 2 or 3 times a year. The last time the siblings saw one another was 6 months ago.
Everything was just how he had always been with me and around the rest of his family, full of love, well-mannered, well-tempered, helpful.
While the family's imam says Shamsuddin seemed different, Jabbar says he showed no signs of the acts he would commit on New Year's Day.
He grew out his beard and he became more modest in his dress. Nobody's seen anything like this coming.
Jabbar says he isn't sure when his brother may have become radicalized, but it isn't something his family condones or
representation of what it means to be a Muslim.
Jabbar says his brother's actions aren't the essence of who he was, but it is a legacy he leaves behind. In Beaumont reporting, I'm Sydney Ferguson.
Younger brother speaking, 24 years of age. Hadn't seen him in 6 months. Why not? Why wasn't he close to this brother? Is this a relationship? Different woman, mother, outside kid? Don't know. See, everybody's going to have a version pertaining to who Jabbar was. So far, I'm hearing he was a nice guy. 2 people from the military have spoken, 2 white men have spoken who were in. They have said he was a decent, active human being. Now you hear from the brother. You heard from a neighbor saying he prayed, mind his business. But then one neighbor said he didn't go to the mosque. So the mosque near the trailer park. So I was wondering about that when I first heard about the trailer park and it having Muslim people living there. I was wondering, just curious, how did he get there? What made him go move there? Obviously, he had financial problems, so he moved into this trailer park that had, I guess, mainly Muslim people living there. Very interesting. And you could tell his disposition started to change because in that 2020 video, he's very well kept, well groomed, shaven, a little bit of a beard, but he was well groomed. So now you go from that to living in a trailer, sheep, chickens running around the property. What the hell happened? See, that's a slow burn. It's what I call when people start unraveling or when it's about to be a jump off. Slow burn. Matter of fact, there's a movie called Slow Burn. Check it out. Ray Liotta. Very good movie. This was a slow burn into the abyss. Slow burn. I I think he already had issues, but nobody possibly saw he was unraveling. 3 marriages every 4 years. I'm not here to say he's a bad person. Excuse me, let me reframe that. When he was married, don't know what happened in those marriages. Yes, what he did in French Quarter was horrible. I want to clarify that. But what I'm saying is, before the French Quarter incident, how was he in his relationships with family, friends, employees, employer? See, all that matters because, as I said, he didn't wake up and just poof, ran to Texas with explosives, devices, guns, laptops. There was a slow burn in the head of JABBAR. It's obvious because it always is. And even if there was no ISIS, no liking ISIS, joining ISIS, following ISIS, he was already coming apart. That's obvious. It's just nobody probably saw it or cared to say something about it, because a lot of people don't like telling people about themselves. Hey, you're acting out. Hey, you're talking crazy. Hey, you're negative. Hey, you're depressed. Hey, you're always down. What's the matter? Because I'm sure the wives have a story to tell. What's that? 3 strikes, you're out? Literally. I'm sure that's what he said. Oh, I'm done with this. I'm being used, the views. Who knows what he was thinking with the last marriage. Any orders were filed in that last marriage. So there was some serious stuff going on. And each were told to stay away from the other. So the last child he has, which is a young boy, who is the mother of that child? This last wife he divorced? I'd like a receipt in the order of the wives and the children. Now, a neighbor tells you that they saw a little young boy on the property playing. So I'm just going to assume it's possibly belonging to the last wife. Who is the wife? Black, white, biracial, Hispanic? Who is this wife? Is she going to speak, come forward? Any of the other wives, are they going to come forward and tell us what happened in their marriages? Why they filed for divorce? Why he filed for divorce? It's a sad tale because there will be another JABBAR. And it won't have no ISIS in it. It won't have no Al-Qaeda in it. It'll just be somebody mad at the world. Somebody felt unworthy, unloved, devalued, and they pop off because it happens every day. People hurting people, people chasing in behind people that don't care about them, trying to get their attention, trying to get them to love them, and then they pop off. Mad because they can't pay their rent, mad because they don't live the way they want, mad because they don't look the way they think they should look, and then they just pop off. Act a donkey's tail. And that's what you have here. A man who was obviously delusional. The reason why he's in the shape he's in, he's no longer alive. Now, what do they have to say? Family of football player killed in New Orleans reveals chilling. Okay. We got some other witnesses speaking about what they saw. Now we have, I told you about the victims. So I've showed you about 9, 10 victims so far that I've showed you pertaining to this. Let's see the survivor. Let's see what she has to say. I also need to show you the update from the hospital. Welcome to the vault, everybody. The Vault XL. A lot of people got stuff to say. Can't keep up with everything. Lord have mercy.
Alexis Scott Wyndham rang in the new year on Bourbon Street with 7 other friends from Mobile. She says they were getting ready to grab a bite to eat before calling it a night when chaos erupted in the street.
We heard something go boom, 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 and people were screaming. And I looked to the left, and truck was coming down like the street. And he was halfway on the sidewalk too. He was just running people over like it was nothing.
She says the truck the terrorist was driving hit her and knocked her to the ground. At first, Alexis thought maybe the truck ran over her foot or she broke her ankle. But as she tried to get up and run away, she saw blood pouring out. Her best friend by her side FaceTimed with Alexis' mother, Trifina.
Once she called me and I looked at it, I said, that's a bullet wound. I said, look, get that other sock you got on the other foot, take it out, tie it up tight so that she won't be bleeding so heavy, so bad.
Alexis says about that time, a good Samaritan and his girlfriend offered to take Alexis and her friend to the hospital.
And that's when I saw all the dead bodies on the ground. I couldn't do nothing but thank God and cry at the same time.
She says her friend, Brandon Whitsett, a Viker graduate, was also injured and is still in the hospital in New Orleans. She believes the truck hit him. She says 2 of her other friends were also hurt, but not seriously.
I'm just thankful. It could have been worse. Like, when people was coming to the hospital, they were looking for their family members. And some of them weren't even there. They were dead. So they was just telling them, like, sorry for your loss. And they would just bust out crying. So I couldn't do nothing but thank God that I only got shot in my foot.
I did not want to be one of them parents that calling me to bury my baby. That's what I really want to see. I'm just glad that you called me and said it was a foot and not her dead. Because it was, you see the video there, people dead, ran over, died. So I'm just glad that she is still alive. By the grace of God, He protected her.
They said he was shooting at people. So I was trying to understand. I hadn't really heard anybody say they was shot. But the girl said she noticed that was a bullet wound, not a broke ankle, foot. So did he shoot at her? That was a bullet wound. She did get shot in her foot. So now you have to ask yourself, how is he speeding down the street, running people over and shooting at the same damn time? This is crazy. But we didn't hear that anybody else was in the car, shooting or anything. So you got to be mighty talented. I'm just saying. Hold the wheel of a truck at a high speed and also be shooting a gun at the same damn time. Just saying. Or is it when he got out of the car and started shooting at the police, the girls were somewhere in the background and took a bullet? But then that don't make sense because she said she got ran over. This is strange information. Strange information. That's one of the things I want to hear. Confirmation he was shooting at the people on the street while driving the truck 70 miles a damn hour.
To those moments where I left off and tell us what you witnessed.
Yes, ma'am. So, like you said, we were done with the last call. We were heading home, heading back to our vehicle. My friend had walked into where I had walked right past her, not paying attention, and I was just walking in a group of people. I looked up at some point and saw that there was a vehicle coming towards us on Bourbon Street, which is kind of out of the normal, just because they barricade and block off Bourbon, therefore, so that we can walk on the actual street and have more room. But it was New Year's Eve, so I didn't think really anything of it, just because anything is possible. But anyways, I saw it, figured maybe I should step up on the sidewalk, get out of their way for whatever reason they're coming. Realized that he had front end damage of his vehicle, and just about as soon as I realized that, it's when he sped up and hit everyone that I was standing with or walking with. He swerved back and forth through the street for what I can only assume to try to hit everyone. all at the same time. As soon as he passed by, he sped up even faster to get to the next crowd over, which was about a half a block away from me. That's when the gunshots started. Right before the gunshot started and right after he had passed us was when everything kind of stood still for a minute, and I realized like how fast and how insane like things were. Like I was walking with all these people laughing, and they were all talking about, you know, things that had happened between I'm assuming that night, and then next thing I know, all these people are on the ground. I watched all of them get hit, and it was very, very, very traumatic.
Did you get a look at him as he passed by? Could you see his face?
No, ma'am. His windows were blacked out, so you couldn't see anything in the vehicle.
But you saw that he was swerving, and you think he was aiming specifically to hit as many people as he could?
I believe so. I mean, I can only speculate at this point. I don't really know what it was, but it seemed as though we were the kind of first group of people that he come in contact with on Bourbon Street. So I can only assume that that's what he was doing. Like he did really hit all the people that I was walking in a crowd with. It was kind of a thin crowd, so there was kind of people like a little group here and a little group there. So he was swerving regardless. It didn't seem as if he was swerving before he got to us, but that's just what I noticed and can only assume.
Wow.
Paige, thank God you're okay. Thank God your friend is okay.
Mercy.
Can you tell me what you saw immediately after he passed you and had hit all of those people that you were with? What was the scene like?
It was surreal. It really didn't seem like it was a real thing that had happened. And when I looked around, it seemed as if everybody was dead. Nobody was moving. They were, in the moment, it felt like they were all dead. It was quiet. I don't feel like anybody really knew what was coming. Nobody really screamed. It happened so fast. So it was quiet. People were it didn't seem like there was even wind blowing at the time. And then all of a sudden the gunshots went off and people were screaming and people were coming out of buildings and all kinds of places to help with all the victims that were on the ground at the time.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com.
People came out the buildings to render aid. Quiet, not even the wind blowing. Wow, that's deep. Not even the wind blowing, she says. Dear God, what in the world? I just gotta find that doctor. Hold on a minute, everybody. Go to my community page. Not even the wind was blowing. Damn. That's deep. That's quiet. I guess so. After that, all those people lying down on the ground, it would be quiet. NYC postal worker stabbed to death over a spot in the deli line. I guess everybody's popping off since New Year's Day. Let's look and see what TMZ has, and then we'll go hear what the doctor has to say about the patients. Welcome to the Ball Excel for your time. Wow. Viewer discretion advised. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Look how narrow that street is from curb to curb. That's like a one-way street, literally. Look at the people running. Let's go back. Everybody just walking, looking. Look at that. He hit that girl, whoever she is, dark hair. He hit her. Had to hit her. But I don't see anybody laying in the street unless they're blocking it out. I don't. Maybe he drug her under the car. Not sure. You're welcome. Because I don't think she got out of the way. You go back to see, they don't show that. Watch this. But watch carefully. Look at the girl with the dark hair hanging right there. No way she got out of the way. Because they were already at the curb. Sweet Jesus. You're welcome, sweetheart. Thank TMZ for this footage. Somebody got it from the balcony. It's a balcony up here. Then remember I showed you a video yesterday of the girl with the red hair? They all were all up here on the sidewalk, one of the sidewalks, and she barely got missed by the truck. Barely. I was like, wow, 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 wow. Can you believe that? Just barely got missed.
Hey, you got...
Scary. That's the thing. You don't know where you're going to be when something happens. I'm trying to find the doctor update. Hold on, everybody. That's what I'm looking for. A lot of people, there'll be a lot of interviews. Victims, friends, family. I don't know why I can't find it. I had it up here. Let's see. Should be on my community page. Oh, Lord have mercy. So the brother has spoken out, letting everyone know that Islam does not know suicide or homicide. Okay? They do not. Parents have spoken out pertaining to their son, Matthew's parents. Let's hear the update from the surgeon, doctors.
Outside of UMC, we've got Dr. Elder joining us live. We can't thank you enough. I know you've been so busy. Walk us through the most new information. I know it's minute by minute here.
Yeah, so overall, we received about 30 patients here at the hospital from the initial scene as well as from transfers from other hospitals here to our level 1 trauma center. As of today, we have about 13 patients still in the hospital, ranging from the ICU to the med-surg floor.
Well, 2 got let go then. What's 15?
Still here. How many did you take in originally?
We took in 26 originally the night of the incident.
Thank you, Scott.
Later in the day, we took another 4 from other hospitals.
Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate that.
Walk us through, in your eyes, I know I've interviewed you so many times, you've seen a lot. New Orleans has never seen anything like this. Have you ever, in your career?
Yeah, no, I think this is the most critically ill and highest number of patients in a short period of time that we've really seen in the region for something like this. And so, this hospital was just blocks away from where this occurred. Patients arrived here very quickly by EMS, which was great. We had a large number of really critically ill individuals all at once that got here. And with that, we saw both blunt and penetrating trauma, from gunshot wounds to the blunt injuries from the vehicle.
So he did shoot
that
them.
was really a different scenario that we hadn't seen before.
Walk us through, this is some of the best care, level 1 trauma center. Walk us through some of the injuries and the treatment and care y'all have done over the past few days.
Yes, we're lucky. We have 2 medical schools here between LSU and Tulane who provide trauma surgeons that take care of our patients here. In addition to all of our nurses, staff that are here 24/7 as a level 1 trauma center to take care of the sickest of the sick trauma patients. And so that night we saw anything from gunshot wounds to gunshot wound graze injuries to the blunt trauma, which would be, blunt trauma to the chest and the abdomen with internal bleeding, head injuries, as well as a high number of orthopedic injuries, a lot of broken arms and legs.
Wow.
Due to the impact from the vehicle.
How are you and your staff doing? This has got to be a lot. I know it takes a toll. How
broken arms and legs.
We're doing well. This is stuff that we train for to take care of these critically ill patients. And when we get this number, it obviously can be a lot. But we have a team that prepares for this. We train for this. And then, now we're in the part where we're not only taking care of the patients and the patients' families that are here with us, but we're also reaching out to our employees, our healthcare workers, and seeing what they need after going through something like this.
Like I said, I know you've seen so much throughout your career. Is there one story that just comes to mind that really just touched your heart?
Yeah, I think, here and what we've seen, it's really just, in this incident, we had people from, locally, from international. And so they're really all over the world. We're downtown when this happened. And so now we're trying to make sure that we can get those patients with their family here together so we can continue to take care of the patients and move forward. And so we've just had such a wide variety of people from so many different walks of life from all over the world. It's just been amazing to see how people come together when something like this happens to allow us to take care of the patient and their families.
What would be your message to the city? I think everyone is kind of you walk around and you see kind of people just with a blank stare sometimes trying to comprehend this. So what would be your message to just New Orleans right now?
I think for us, we're a city who we're used to these large crowds. We have events all the time. We're going to have more events upcoming. Now's the time to know that we should continue to do what we want to do and don't let acts of terrorism like this dissuade us from being New Orleanians and doing all the things we do. We have public officials, police, law enforcement, the governor's office here to support and protect everybody. Let them do their job with that. I think we as citizens should both, remember what happened, obviously grieve for those who are lost, take care of those that we're here to take care of, but then also continue to do what we do as New Orleanians because, it is important. It's part of who we are. It's part of the city. And we don't want to change what we do.
Well said. All right, Dr. Elder, I know you're a very busy man. We can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your busy schedule to speak with us this afternoon.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate it and all the work. Thank you so much. So again, Dr. Elder live right there. He's going to get back to work, but again, giving a very powerful message here in New Orleans. Guys, back to you.
All right, everybody. Channel 6 News is the source. That was Dr. Elder. I believe it was yesterday or the day before, there were 15 people who were still in the hospital. Now it's down to 13. So grace of God, 2 have been removed from the hospital. I'm going to play you some content. One more content on Bourbon Street or other streets without any help from anyone else. Please check out my live stream pertaining to Sebastian Rogers, missing now 10 months. Did that live late last night. Take the poll, 101 votes. Thank you for the votes. 10 months later, Sebastian Rogers alive. 8% yes, 61% no, 31% not sure. More not sure. So it's between no and not sure, of course. Is Ellie investigating Sebastian Rogers as a criminal investigation? 51% yes, 13% no, 10% not sure, 27% says should be. So more of you think they are doing their job. Do they have suspects? 47% yes, 11% no, 15% not sure, 27% says if not, they should. Will this case be solved? 84 votes, 42% yes, 21% no, not sure, 23%, no time soon, 14%. And once again, I asked you to weigh in on this case now, 10 months in. The Cybertruck in Las Vegas, is it related? Is it the guy they found in the truck? Does it match the ID? Do you believe they're the same person? 56% yes, 9% no, 19% not sure, 16% most likely. Should victims sue the city of New Orleans for this attack? 65% yes, 24% no, 11% not sure. Once again, imagine hearing your husband, ex-husband, parent want you unalive but chose others instead. Is the FBI involved investigating this case properly? Yes, 51%. No, 26%. 23% sure. Mistakes were made, but better now. Nobody voted. So tell me why some of you believe they're not investigating the case properly. JABBAR has been assumed as the lone wolf, no other help. You all weighed in. Yes, you agree, 12%. 63% of you said no, 12% of you are not sure. And also, law officials are saying out of Las Vegas that Cybertruck Tesla is not connected to this case in New Orleans. Although both were in the military, both served at Fort Bragg, both went to Afghanistan 2009, both rented cars on the Turo Act, both were maneuvering on Monday, making provisions to go out of town to locations to exact crimes, but yet law officials in Vegas say, not connected. And I think they're saying the same. FBI agent out of New Orleans saying the same. Did they get it right? Do they know what they're saying? 8% says yes. They're not connected. 26% say no. 18% not sure. More of you said it seems strange, very similar, 49%. What a mess. I'm trying to find that video I watched. Neighbors shocked to learn New Orleans attackers. Let me see. Let me see if this is the video I'm looking for. Bear with me, everybody. Hello, Dawn.
We are learning chilling new details about the suspect in the attack in New Orleans. The FBI labeling the horrific incident an evil act of terrorism. They no longer believe that other people are involved. Authorities also recovered 2 functional IEDs in the area of the attack stashed inside coolers.
Hold on, I'm going to pause that for a minute. I'm going to jump through the video for just a second because I want to see if this is the one where his comrades came on. Hold on, everybody. Oh, I showed this one already. Okay. Hold on. I'm trying to find the video I watched. Fox has got a history of the 2. I'm trying to find that video. Let me go on my history. So I watched it last night. Neighbors shocked. I think I showed you all that one already today. Okay. It's hard to keep up with all this stuff. There's just too many videos out. So we've listened to the victims. We've listened to the brother. I think I already showed you this one. Continues 1041. Let me try this one. All this hollering and screaming. Sorry, you can hear these neighbors arguing. These people are just so ratchet. I've never seen people cannot live in peace. Let's see if this is it.
Investigators are saying today. Lily?
Katie and Charisse, Bourbon Street is now open to pedestrians, and Canal Street, where I'm standing, is bustling. Just take a look behind me at the extra safety measures that have been put into place to keep folks safe. You can see a large armored vehicle. That is Homeland Security, and beyond them, you have JPSO directly blocking off Bourbon with a truck that they use during hurricanes, making a stronger barricade. Now, we were here this afternoon as Canal reopened. Cars were allowed to travel lake and riverbound starting around 2 p.m. 2 hours later, the Canal streetcar came back online, and then were allowed to travel.
Let me tell you, these little balders here, ballers, whatever you call them, they can't do nothing. That don't do nothing. That's what was up at the Capitol, remember? So do the math. That's what was up at the Capitol a few years ago. And you see, they stormed that because that ain't made of nothing. Let's just keep it real.
Travel lake and riverbound starting around
right
2
there.
p.m. 2 hours later, the canals.
Same thing. Go back. Those right there, can't do nothing with those.
Later, the Canal streetcar came back online. And then earlier today, the FBI gave big updates in their investigation. First, we learned that they now believe the suspect acted alone. We also found out that 2 explosive were found in the French Quarter in connection with this attack. Now, agents were able to disable them. After that press conference, NOPD Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick was on Canal. She shared they installed large metal blockades on Bourbon that prevent driving on the sidewalk. The chief was asked if she was upset that they weren't in place the night of the attack. Listen to her response.
It's not a matter of being upset. This is not a matter of pointing blame anywhere. A terrorist is hell-bent on destruction. This man was going to do his best. And if it hadn't been on Bourbon, he was going to go somewhere else.
Exactly. That's true. I think I played that earlier.
Now, we also told you yesterday that investigators were looking for 4 suspects. They are no longer looking for those individuals. They told us that because there was footage going around that showed those folks looking at the coolers where they found some of those explosive devices. But the FBI said in that update today that these folks appear to just have been looking at those coolers, checking them out after they were placed. Reporting live from Canal Street, Lily Cummings, WWL Louisiana.
All right, an important distinction there. Thanks so much, Lily. Investigators are continuing to piece together evidence on the suspect who committed the attack, Shamsuddin Jabbar.
The FBI and local law enforcement says he's a U.S. citizen from Texas and an Army veteran who came to New Orleans looking to kill. Our chief investigative reporter, David Hammer, joining us now in studio. David, what do we know about Jabbar's history?
Yeah, we're learning so much more about Shamsuddin Jabbar. Yesterday, we were able to speak with Army veterans who served with Jabbar and
this is what I was looking
kind,
for.
Intelligent, and talented IT specialist about 15 years ago. But now we're learning about his mounting personal and financial difficulties that may have just pushed him to the breaking point. Records from Texas and Georgia show Jabbar was divorced 3 times, in 2012, in 2016, and the last time in 2020. That last case was very contentious. Financial records from 2022 showed Jabbar with mounting debts, and his ex-wife alleged he committed fraud in payments to her and their child. The divorce wasn't settled until just a few months ago, with Jabbar telling his ex-wife's attorney he was facing foreclosure. And a year and a half ago, Jabbar moved into this compound in Houston, a tight-knit community of devout Muslims. This morning, a neighbor who did not want to be shown on camera talked to our sister station, KHOU.
When he comes in, he was Muslim, as a Muslim. I didn't know what happened to him before. I didn't know anything before, what his background was. He was in the military. I learned anything just everybody else learning as well. Now I know he was a nice, quiet neighbor. Won't bother. I know my kids are handful. They sometimes scream, but he won't be bothered.
The FBI Deputy Assistant Director Christopher Reyes says that sometime before this summer, Jabbar started professing allegiance to the Islamic State terror group ISIS. Reyes said at a press conference this morning that Jabbar posted videos on social media this week saying he wanted to kill his family, but that wouldn't create enough headlines about the, quote, war between the believers and disbelievers. So he rented the white pickup truck, drove from...
So this is where we have the problem. He wanted to kill his family, but he wouldn't show the truth of believers versus non-believers. What the hell does that mean? What was the message he was trying to send to the public? What was he trying to tell us? Oh, I want to kill my family, but... So what, are you mad at them because they're not believers? They weren't acting like Muslims are supposed to act, behave? You had a problem with music, instruments, in debt, credit card debt, bad marriages, bad business. Couldn't acclimate to civilian life years ago when you got out of the military. Seemed like never got his footing in the world. Is that a correct depiction of Mr. Jabbar? Shit, I want to hear myself think. I want to hear the TV. I want to hear the radio. I can't hear it if you making a whole lot of noise, if you get my drift. But do I want to go to jail to make you shut up? I'm not going to answer that because I am live. You get what I'm trying to say. What was the straw that broke the camel's back for the Jabbar? What was the straw that broke the camel's back? You see, the thing about popping off is the obvious. As I've said before, it ain't just no one thing. It's a multitude of things. And he had a lot going on, obviously. Bad debt, owing mortgage payments, $27,000. Credit card debt. Bad marriage after marriage after marriage. Taking care of children. God forbid, he could have had family issues. Wrestling with his religion, his manhood, who knows? Should have gotten to this point? Of course not, but I'm not him. I'm not in his shoes. And he's not in his shoes either anymore. Brother spoke out, great guy, but didn't see this coming. Military men are going to speak in this commentary. They don't have anything negative to say about him. But obviously something was wrong with Mr. Jabbar. He became unhinged. And I also believe he was having mental issues long before following ISIS.
From Houston to New Orleans on Wednesday, rented the Airbnb on Mandeville Street, set up the coolers with the pipe bombs in the French Quarter, and gunned the truck down Bourbon Street. And for now, the FBI believes he was acting alone. Katie?
All right, much more to come. Thanks
so much. They didn't probably know what it was, Tears.
We know the names of 9 out of the 14 people who tragically lost their lives while celebrating the new year. 18-year-old Nakaira Cheyenne Dito from Gulfport. She was visiting with her cousin and her friend. St. Thomas More alum and Princeton football star Martin Tiger Besh, and Nicole Perez, who was a mother from Metairie.
Reggie Hunter, who was told, or we're told rather, was visiting New Orleans from Baton Rouge on a whim. 21-year-old Archbishop.
Well, let me say this. Nobody so far has said that he was an angry person. The in-law said he was the nicest person she ever met. So I don't think he would say that if a person was quick to get angry. He may have been the type, he held things in. He didn't speak his opinion. And a lot of people are like that. They get angry, but they don't show it. And you've heard this with mass shooters. You have heard this a lot with young people who went and exacted mass shootings. They never told people how they felt. They didn't exhibit anger. They just one day plotted the crime. And you always hear this with the mass shootings. He was a nice guy. He was a nice kid. Didn't bother nobody. Blah, blah, blah. He was bullied. Blah, blah, blah. Then poof, popped off. Because a lot of people don't pop off regularly. They let it exacerbate. That's what you have here. Exacerbation. A man who let it get out of control. He popped off. He let the weight of the world push him into the abyss. instead of getting some help for whatever was bothering him or whatever he thought was wrong or people not abiding by Allah's way. He knew everybody don't follow the Muslim faith. So if somebody wants to listen to rock music, rap music, they want to drink, they want to wear short skirts, they want to get high, snort cocaine, that's their choice. You can't make people follow Allah. You can't make people do anything. You do you. You be your best you. You treat people accordingly. If they don't treat you accordingly, you let them know, hey, I don't appreciate that. Then you keep it moving. You don't have to deal with them. So if you are following the Muslim faith and you don't want to fraternize with Christians, you don't fraternize with the Jews, the Catholics, that's your choice. That's your choice. But you don't go out here and kill people because, oh, I don't like the Jew, I don't like the Mexican, I don't like this. Because you think about that, if everybody just went out and mowed people down, shot people, killed people because they're having a bad fucking day, they're mad at the world, somebody broke their heart, somebody lied to them, somebody stole something, we wouldn't have nobody on earth. There'd be nobody breathing. Well, instead of get in my truck, mow everybody down on the street, let me jump the curb. He broke up with me, let me get in my car, mow some people down. Can't pay my mortgage. Let me get in my car and mow some people down. He probably had shit going on that nobody knew because he probably didn't tell anybody. He didn't want people in his business. He was a private person, perhaps. He didn't tell anybody. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody don't want people in their business because, as they have said, you tell people stuff. Next thing you know, they're ostracizing you. Every time you do something, now they're going to bring up whatever you tell them. Oh, you're mad. Oh, you got PTSD. Oh, you're schizophrenic. Oh, you got a mental problem. Oh, you don't cope well. That's why people don't tell their business. And perhaps that's what happened with Mr. Jabbar. He didn't tell people how he felt about them. He didn't tell people what was bothering him, and he let it exacerbate. And he popped off New Year's Day.
Archbishop Shaw alum Hubert Godreau and University of Alabama student Kareem Bawadi, who we do not have a picture of just yet. Auburn University alum Drew Dolphin, 25-year-old account executive Billy DeMaio, and Superdome audiovisual technician Matthew Tenedorio.
Whitney Miller spoke with Tenedorio's mother earlier today. She's remembering him for his, quote, laid-back spirit and infectious laughter.
Whitney, we know that conversation was difficult.
Yeah, it was really difficult. Matthew Tenedorio was out celebrating the New Year with friends on Bourbon Street when he got separated from his friends that he was with. He worked as an audiovisual tech at the Superdome, and his mother tells me everywhere that he went, he did not know a stranger. Matthew was the youngest of three and a graduate of Pearl River Central. His mother says, thankfully, he spent most of New Year's Eve with his family in Slidell.
Wow.
It was just a very fun time, relaxing, loving, and then around 9:30, you know, oh, we're going to head off. We're going to head into New Orleans. So we just all hugged each other and gave each other, a big love you, Happy New Year. Talk to you tomorrow. Please text me when you get home, kind of stuff. My husband tried to tell him, please, just son, don't go and stay here. Don't, no, Dad. So anyway, that was that. And then we didn't hear from me.
Yeah.
Brief intermission. How sad is it to be spending time with your family and then they go their separate way for the evening? And you're assuming you're going to hear back from him or her. And what you get is a call to tell you your loved one has been murdered. Wow. That's deep.
Yeah, she went on to tell me trying to figure out where he was and what happened to him was a complete nightmare. Tonight at 10, she'll share more about her son and this whole experience.
Chief Ann Kirkpatrick, Mayor Cantrell, local ministers, and Archbishop Gregory Amond held a second line and placed 14 roses for each of those killed.
A short time after that vigil, the street was cleaned and cleared and reopened.
It was a very active crime scene yesterday, but now people are back in the bars and restaurants there. Amelia Strahan joining us with more. Amelia, how does it look tonight?
Katie and
And Sharice, for the first time since that attack, it's starting to sound a little more like normal on Bourbon Street. I'm sure you can hear the music playing. The crowds are returning. Really, since they opened that street at 2 o'clock, the crowds did not hesitate to come back. I'm going to step out of the way so you guys can get a quick look at Bourbon Street. Now, you know, this is a little closer to Canal. If you go further down, the crowds are a lot more dense, and we're expecting them to get even denser as the night goes on and the Sugar Bowl crowds make their way down to Bourbon Street. You can probably see the flashing lights. That is still just one little shot of the heavy police presence that's still down here on Bourbon Street. But I mean, as soon as they opened it up today, the people immediately started walking down, and I think it is because of that law enforcement presence. You know, it made people feel safer. But since that attack early New Year's Day, investigators have been the only people allowed on Bourbon Street. So it is encouraging to see it starting, you know, to look a little more like normal. And of course, there are mixed emotions about this reopening. You know, this comes just after the attack, so the people that are, you know, working at these businesses, they are still, you know, experiencing a little bit of fear from what we're hearing from them. We saw employees holding hands, praying. I know you showed video just a few moments ago of that vigil. So still, while sounding joyful and sounding a little more back to normal, still a very difficult day for many people down here. We actually spoke to Sheriff Susan Hudson just before they opened Bourbon Street today, and she described a difficult few days for her staff, but says she and other law enforcement agencies are ready to keep New Orleans safe.
People said, veterans who've been here for years are like, I've never seen anything like that. Community, it's about our visitors, it's about us. And so we feel good about the plan in place. You can see all the personnel here. We've got federal, state, local law enforcement here, our first responders from EMS and fire, just tremendous efforts.
And of course, we're so grateful to our law enforcement out here doing a very important job during a very difficult time. We're going to keep you updated as we stay out here on Bourbon Street this evening. We'll see you guys back here at 6:30. Reporting live from Bourbon Street, Amelia Strahan, WWL, Louisiana.
All right, everybody. Wow. That was yesterday's news broadcast. If you're curious, you see they put old black girl down. They were not allowing her to speak. The latest commentary pertaining to this debacle because of her comment about saying that it was not an act of terrorism. This is why you have to be careful what you speak and put on your tongue before having all of the information. Okay.
Who has more about what investigators are saying today? Lily?
As the governor said, let us gather the information. Don't be so hasty in trying to get information. Let us tell you what is going on as not to have to report something not factual. And that's the whole thing. Reporting the news is just like telling a story. Everything's about a version and perception. There are going to be times when you're going to repeat something wrong, pronounce a name wrong. That's that. And so people need to just calm down, let the people give you the news. Let the law enforcement gather the information, then let them come forward and bring you the information. As I said, everything's about perception. Everything's about gathering the information. As you see, the black lady spoke too hastily, and now they're saying, hey, it is an act of terrorism. He was following ISIS. So that's what they're labeling it as. You're entitled to your opinion of that, if you believe it or not. As for the people that were messing with the ice chest on the street, they have cameras now to show he placed those ice chests at those locations. That's why I've showed you camera footage of him walking with his overcoat. He did all that. He put those ice chests on those streets. That's the whole point. They have to get the evidence first. So what they probably got was just, in the beginning, people standing around the chest, opening, looking, so they thought people were involved. But then once they got more footage, they saw, oh, we've got footage now of him planting the ice chest. So it's a difference between looking at people look at an ice chest and then you find footage of him carrying the ice chest and planting them on the street corners or wherever he planted them. This is my last bit of information for the night. Everyone have a safe weekend. God bless you. Happy New Year. Prayers to New Orleans. Prayers to New Orleans. Prayers to everyone in the United States and abroad. And prayers to all religions, faiths, because you are entitled to worship God or a God as you see fit. But what you don't have the right is to hurt people, harm people, unalive people because they don't agree with your faith, believe your faith. You believe they're a non-believer of any faith. You don't have the right to do that. And also prayers to Jabbar's family because they have a lot to digest at the current moment. Prayers to our victims, families, friends left behind. No terrorists to me. Relatives and friends saw a few signs before the attack. New York Times is the source. Shamsuddin Bahar Jabbar appeared to be living a quiet but dutiful life of work, faith amid Houston's sprawling diversity. A veteran in the U.S. Army who studied information technology, converted to Islam, and recently held a six-figure job. Little in his outward persona suggested someone who could be responsible for what the authorities described as a brutal terrorist attack along one of the most famous streets in the United States on New Year's Day. In a white pickup rented in Houston, the authorities said Mr. Jabbar rammed through a crowd of revelers around 3 a.m. on Bourbon Street in New Orleans before opening fire, killing at least 15 people in one of the nation's worst terror attacks. Now, allegedly, he's a part of the 15, unless somebody else has passed away. So I just want to throw that in there. Mr. Jabbar died with the police. Officials said in the truck they found an Islamic State flag, and a senior law enforcement official said that Mr. Jabbar had posted several videos to his flag was on the back of the truck. They keep saying inside, but there are photographs of the Islamic flag, the ISIS flag on the back of the truck on a pole. Officials with the Federal Bureau of Investigation were still trying to determine a motive for the attack and believe that Mr. Jabbar was not solely responsible. Several improvised explosive devices were found and disposed of, officials said. The violence appeared to explode out of nowhere to those who had known Mr. Jabbar as smart, caring brother and quiet, helpful neighbor. But there were also signs of growing instability in his life. Mr. Jabbar divorced his first wife, Nakedra Cheryl Marsh, 2012, then struggled with adjusting to civilian life after leaving active duty military service about a decade ago. He divorced a second wife and was separated from his third. So now we're hearing of separation and not divorce. And that's why I said when they said 21, he petitioned, that led me to believe he had to still been married. And as you heard in the commentary I played, allegedly he was finally divorced just a little while ago. So each article is giving something different. Dwayne Marsh, who is married to Mr. Jabbar's ex-wife, Miss Marsh, said Mr. Jabbar had been acting erratically in recent months. Okay, so Dwayne is married to Jabbar's ex-wife. Okay? And they're saying he was acting erratically in recent months, being all crazy, cutting his hair after converting to Islam. Mr. Marr said he and his wife stopped allowing the two daughters she shared with Mr. Jabbar, ages 15 and 20, to spend time with him. Now, this is where this is a problem. The 20-year-old, by law, can go wherever she wants to go, spend time with whoever she wants because she's a legal adult. The 15-year-old, the mother still has ranks over because she's a minor, as most of you know this. Did the children want to stop spending time with Jabbar? When was the last time the children saw the father, the 15 and the 20-year-old? I'd like to know. About a year ago, Mr. Jabbar moved into a rented home in a Muslim neighborhood north of Houston. On Wednesday, access to much of the neighborhood, including its local mosque, was blocked off by law enforcement as FBI investigators searched the area of trailers and small homes. One of Mr. Jabbar's neighbors, who was blocked from returning home during the search, said Mr. Jabbar kept to himself and usually stayed inside his home. The neighbor asked not to be named out of concern for his safety as a Muslim in the aftermath of the attack. See, that's sad. Can't give your opinion for worrying about retaliation. Mr. Jabbar's brother, Abdur Jabbar, 24, said in an interview in Beaumont, Texas, where the brothers grew up, that they last spoke 2 weeks ago and that his brother did not mention any plans or desire to go to New Orleans. Now, this is a contradiction because I played you content that said they hadn't spoken in 6 months. So see, now you see what I'm saying about information? 1 minute he's still married, next minute he's divorced. Now the brother says he ain't talked to him in 6 months. Now he's saying he talked to him 2 weeks ago. So what's the truth? And now he's saying the brother didn't mention any plans or desire to go to New Orleans. Well, he's not getting ready to tell you he's going to go mow people down because he knows that you would possibly call the police, call the feds. He said that they had been brought up Christian, but that his brother had long ago converted to Islam. Now, I want you to think about that because on his army uniform that I missed during the live, forgive me, his name Jabbar on that army uniform. So I had been telling you all, many black people who go to the Muslim faith change their names. So now we hear that this brother is saying they grew up Christian. So I don't think that they would be Christians with Muslim names. I could be wrong, just saying. So they grew up Christian, but that the brother had long ago converted to Islam. As far as I know, he was a Muslim for most of his life, said the younger brother. What he did does not represent Islam. This is more some type of radicalization, not religion. He added that his brother, who had a 6-year-old son, in addition to his oldest daughters, joined the military not knowing what he wanted to do in life. It was a new outlet to get some sort of discipline, Mr. Jabbar said. And yes, many people will recommend the military to young people who are wayward, confused, in and out of school, dropping out of school. A parent, guardian may say, well, hey, you need to get yourself together. You need to go in the military. Or you can't stay at my house because you're wayward, you're not doing anything. You need to go join the military. But once again, it's still a choice to join. The only time you are forced to go to the military is if it is a draft, which we have not had in a very long time. Shamsuddin Behar Jabbar spent years in the military, moving between states, ending up in Fort Bragg in North Carolina at one point, according to court documents, and deploying once to Afghanistan. He worked mostly as an information technology specialist, according to the U.S. Army statement. He was discharged from the Army Reserve in 2020 with the rank of Staff Sergeant, and I will tell you he was also honorably discharged. Chris Poussin, 42, a retired Air Force veteran who also lives in Beaumont, said he attended middle school and high school with Sham, and he was known then and described him as quiet, reserved, and really, really smart. Okay? Middle school and high school. Common sense will tell you he is not the same man since middle school and high school. He wasn't a troublemaker at all, Mr. Poussin said. He made good grades and was always well-dressed in button-ups and polo shirts. They reconnected on Facebook after Mr. Jabbar got out of active duty military service in 2015, at which point Mr. Poussin noticed that Mr. Jabbar had become deeply involved in his Muslim faith. Before, if he was into it, he wasn't open or verbal about it, Mr. Poussin said. But at that point, he said, Mr. Jabbar was making lots of posts about religion on Facebook. It was never Muslim extremist stuff, and he was never threatening any violence. But you could see that he had gotten really passionate. Still, the attack came as a shock to him. This is a complete 180 from the quiet, reserved person I knew, he said. Mr. Jabbar had complained in the past about the challenges of life as a veteran. In 2015 interview, Georgia State University student paper, Mr. Jabbar said that the Department of Veterans had made it difficult to get paid through the GI Bill. He attended GSU from 2015 until 2017, when he received a bachelor's degree in computer information systems, the school said. It's such a large agency, Mr. Jabbar explained to a student reporter. One missed signature or sheet of paper could mean slipping through the cracks. He also said he found it challenging to communicate without using military jargon. More recently, Mr. Jabbar had tried to sell real estate in a YouTube video from 2020, which is now deleted. That appears to have been posted by Mr. Jabbar. He spoke positively about his skills, his lifelong history in Beaumont, and his service in the military. I've been here all my life, with the exception of traveling for the military, he said. On a now deleted Twitter account, Mr. Jabbar wrote in 2021 about his work in real estate and his interest in cryptocurrency. He also expressed an interest in firearms, once writing, "It's a shoot the guns type of Saturday morning." He later posted a photo of two people standing while a third person fired a gun. An account with an identical username on a classified site dedicated to firearms, showing that user tried to sell a pistol, ammunition, and a shotgun. The posts on that website were made in November and December. So who was he trying to sell the items to? Why was he trying to sell a pistol and ammunition? But we now know he ended up getting possession of two guns that were inside of the vehicle New Year's Day. Are they the same guns used that he was trying to sell? Mr. Jabbar did not appear to have a history of violence. Criminal records in Texas show charges for minor infractions 2 decades ago. Misdemeanor theft in 2002, driving with an invalid license 2005. So what was the theft in 2002? The vehicle used in the New Orleans attack, an electric Ford pickup, was registered to a Houston man who made vehicles available for rent on a peer-to-peer car sharing website. Okay? Made vehicles available for rent on a peer-to-peer car sharing website. That man, who asked that his name not be made public, well, we already know your name, Mr. Diaz, said the FBI called him and explained that he had not been driving the vehicle but had rented it out. He said he had been asked by the federal agents not to discuss the matter publicly. So he's been asked not to talk about it. Records show that Mr. Jabbar was married 3 times, with his first marriage ending in 2012, second in Georgia ending a few years after that. Okay? Back in Texas, and in the midst of a third divorce, January 2022, Mr. Jabbar wrote an email to his wife's lawyer in which he described financial problems. "I cannot afford the house payment," he wrote. So this must be him not living there, or she stayed at the house, wanted to keep the house, and he was trying to make the the house payment, and was probably saying, hey, I can't pay her child support and pay a note of a house that she's in. I'm just wondering if that's what happened. So he had wrote an email to her lawyer saying he couldn't afford the house payment. "It is past due in excess of $27,000 and in danger of foreclosure if we delay settling the divorce," he wrote. Very interesting. He said in an email that the business corporation he had formed, a real estate company, had lost more than $28,000 in the previous year, and that he had taken on a $16,000 in credit card debt. At the same time, he said in a court document from later that same year, he said he worked at the accounting firm Deloitte and made $120,000 a year. A company spokesman said Mr. Jabbar had served in a staff level role since being hired in 2021. So what is they trying to say, the staff level role? That he didn't make the 120 or he didn't? Help us understand. "He was no terrorist to me," said Marilyn Bradford, 70, who lived upstairs from Mr. Jabbar in a Houston apartment building where he lived from 2021 until about a year ago. Before he left, she said he gave her a dryer, a steamer, and other household supplies. I said, "Oh, you are giving me something to remember you by?" He laughed like he always did. She said he was an outcast person. I was the only one he really talked to. I used to refer to him as my buddy. Miss Bradford said she would see him spending time on the weekend with his 3 children and was always helpful. He would ask, "Ma'am, do you want me to help you with that?" He would help me carry my groceries. So far, as I said, nothing has been said negatively about Mr. Jabbar by any persons that knew him. So how in the world did he get to this situation of mowing down these innocent people? Help me understand. Let's hear what Fox has to say about New Orleans versus Las Vegas Cybertruck. And then
the
I will
FBI
check
is now
out
saying
here.
they believe Shamsuddin Jabbar, the suspected driver who intentionally plowed a pickup truck into a New Year's Eve crowd on Bourbon Street,
Sorry about that.
acted alone. Jabbar is an Army veteran and U.S. citizen born in Texas. The agency releasing this poster showing images of him walking around New Orleans just over an hour before the deadly attack. He also placed a blue and white cooler with an explosive device inside near the intersection of Bourbon and Orleans streets. Photos from inside Jabbar's Texas trailer home show a bomb-making table and a Quran open to a page about martyrdom. The FBI telling lawmakers yesterday they had no prior information about Jabbar and he was on no terror watch list. Joining me now, former FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, former New Jersey Police Lieutenant, and former Office of Naval Intelligence, Steve Rogers. And Steve, I'm so glad you're here with us this morning. I want you to give us your initial take on everything we have learned so far about him and really talk about the possible radicalization of him by either ISIS itself or whether that was an inspiration from ISIS.
Well, we have a few things to look at here. I can tell you I've been speaking with a number of law enforcement officers who are following this case. I got to tell you, the overwhelming number of us feel that it's impossible. It's got to be impossible within a 24 to 48-hour period from the start of this incident that the FBI came up with these conclusions. For example, that he didn't act alone. I mean, this has to be an extensive investigation. They usually take, if not a few weeks, a month or so. And a lot of people have to be interviewed. You have to have a forensic analysis of all the electronic equipment. Where is there any money involved from a foreign entity? So the fact of the matter is that I don't have much confidence in the FBI at this point. And by the way, if you remember, they first came.
Let me interrupt. Many crimes are committed alone. You can't just assume he followed ISIS, that other people were involved. He had the mindset and the intelligence to put things together. You can go to a YouTube video to show you how to make a bomb or a detonator or whatever. Everybody knows this. Show you how to fix something on your car. Install a battery. You all see where I'm going. You can't assume that people are involved just because he said he followed ISIS. That's an assumption. Nobody else was in the car with him when he stepped out to shoot at the police and they returned gunfire. They now have footage of him planting the ice chest on public streets. So what is it that you all can't accept? You just want to put other people in it because he mentions ISIS. Well, had he not mentioned ISIS, would you still be saying that other people were involved? I'm just saying. That's why the governor said, let us gather the information first and bring it to you as we get it. And so we don't make mistakes in assuming who he is and what he did and if anybody else is involved. He hadn't talked about killing people. He hadn't talked about ISIS in that way until I guess recently. And that's when somebody should have flagged his Facebook accounts and any type of X account. You should have flagged it. And I would think the platform itself would flag his content if he said anything threatening. But if he didn't say anything threatening, maybe that's why that accounts didn't get flagged. But I'm just saying. You've heard he was a loner. didn't fraternize much. So the point is, you got to prove he got monies, he got coerced, which once again, he's still an adult, he make his own decisions. You got to prove it. Because many people exact crimes here in the United States and abroad, and they don't have any funding and any help from anybody. They were mad at the world, and they decided to build a bomb, jump in their car, their truck, rent a truck. They did it on their own. And this man was already having problems coming from the military, being married, coming out the military. He was already having issues. And the thing about life is, when you have one issue, the devil is good at bringing you another issue. And before you know it, you haven't even resolved issue 1, issue 2. Now you got 4, 5, and 6. And perhaps he wasn't good at navigating personal problems. Many people are like him. They just take on the world and they don't try to figure a way out. So he popped off. But once again, you're speaking a little bit soon. Don't think you should be down in the FBI just yet about what they're doing and not doing, because I'm assuming they already have his devices and they're going through it and they're looking at who he's talked to, who has talked to him, cell phones. And if they don't have anything yet to show somebody from abroad talking to him, wiring him money, transcripts, videos, WhatsApp, which WhatsApp is supposed to be pretty tight to get into. You understand what I'm saying? You got to prove there's coercion, collusion. And they've already retracted. They made a mistake by saying other people were involved just because they were looking at a chess. They now have videos showing him put the chess on the street corners. Lord have mercy.
Came out
Hello, Perspective.
There was no terrorist connection. Then they said it was a terrorist attack. A lot of confusion down there. So that's something that they're going to have to get their act together.
He wasn't well.
But I believe, and most of my colleagues believe, that at the very least, there were other people involved in the planning of this, if not executing it on the day that he did this.
You know what, Steve? It's interesting you say this because you're picking up on something that Senator Mark said. Is the fact that you had a reporter from the New York Times in Houston go to his home before the FBI got there. They didn't go till his home until 1 p.m. that day, and she's saying that it's disgraceful that the FBI was so behind the ball. Never mind the fact that they initially said that this was not a terror event, and then the New Orleans mayor said it was in the same press conference. So that's one question for you. But the other is just the culture at the FBI, change in leadership. I mean, what is going on at the FBI? Because Kash Patel has been nominated now to take over. Chris Wray is retiring, as we know, leaving. What is going on in the functioning of the FBI? Because this investigation from the get-go, there's been a lot of criticism against the agency.
Well, training has been changed from strategic training, tactical training, training on how to really complete thorough investigations to DEI. That has devastated the FBI. It has devastated law enforcement across the country. It has done no good to help the people of this country remain safe and secure. The FBI has to get back to its main mission, and that is to investigate crimes and do those investigations. You set up procedures to prevent things like this from happening. Our human resources are not as widespread as they used to be. People are not joining the FBI like they used to. Look, when I was a kid, I remember J. Edgar Hoover in those days, and watching the FBI on TV, you'd want to run to become an FBI agent. That's not happening anymore. And that is a ripple and chilling effect in every law enforcement agency in the United States of America. The agents on the field, God bless them, the men and women out there are trying to do the best they could. But when you speak to a lot of them, morale is bad. They can't wait to retire, just like the local law enforcement officers can't wait to retire.
That's unfortunate because there's so many good agents within the FBI and many hardworking men and women. So the fact that they want to leave and retire is unfortunate. But, you know, also, too, we're in a very precarious position in time right now in our nation. We've had, years of an open border. We don't know who has been coming across that border, whether it's gotaways. We know that we have seen many on the terror watch list that
that have been identified as crossing through the southern border. That's one issue. James Carafano writes on FoxNews.com that, quote, more Islamist terror is coming and we are woefully unprepared. Your response?
Well, we are woefully unprepared. Back when I was on the Joint Terrorism Task Force, our daily concern, major concern, was terrorists crossing that border, coming into the United States, perhaps scattering all over our country, and then meeting up as terrorist cells. And I always said, you know, this isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I'm sad to say that, well, when may be now. This may be the beginning of something that we're going to have to really address moving forward. But we're not prepared right now. We need more electronic surveillance. We need more human resources on the ground. We just need a lot of leadership in the FBI that's going to do, as I said earlier, what they are trained to do or should be trained, and that is to protect the American people.
Okay, Steve, so let's talk about what happened in Las Vegas. So police have identified 37-year-old, an active duty Green Beret, Matthew Livelsberger from Colorado. He was the driver of the cyber truck that exploded New Year's Day in front of Trump International Hotel. Officials say he died of a self-inflicted shot wound to the head before the explosion. The FBI is claiming there's no definitive link between this incident and the deadly New Orleans terror attack, but there are some eerie similarities here. Here is more from the Las Vegas police. Watch.
And there are a number of things in this case that are similar to the attack in New Orleans. We do know that our subject here served in the military. In fact, he's a current member of the military. Both of the subjects served at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. What we do know about that is it's a very large military base, and we have no record that they served in the same unit or even at the same years at Fort Bragg. They both served in Afghanistan in 2009. We don't have any evidence that they were in the same province in Afghanistan, the same location, or the same unit. Again, something else that remains under investigation.
And federal agents, local police are now trying to determine the motive behind the explosion. His family says he was a big Trump supporter who loved his time in the military. Steve, what is your reaction to this?
Obviously not.
Well, the officer we just heard from laid out the reason why the FBI should have never come to the conclusion the way they did, because those are dots that are being connected. Look, you've got these two individuals there in the Army. They're in the same unit. I understand it was reported that they even rented these vehicles through the same portico. So the fact of the matter is there's a lot of similarities here. And here you got the terrorist loss. They blow up the car in front of Trump Tower, and it's a Tesla, Elon Musk. I mean, and then you've got the other guy over there in New Orleans.
Oh, didn't think about that.
Creating havoc pressers in New Orleans. Every politician down there wanted to come to the mic, get their 15 face.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought that was a bit much too.
Control down there like they did in Las Vegas. The people deserve answers, but the answers have to be credible and they have to be factual.
Okay, and Steve, I just want to clarify that the two different gentlemen from these two attacks, they weren't in the same unit, but there was an overlap, it looks like, at Fort Bragg. But, you know, that's about it. So anyway, it looks like there is a separation here. But really quick, both trucks in these attacks were changed from Turo to Lapturo. It's very common. It's actually been around since 2009. So the company says they are talking to law enforcement, but both JABBAR and Livelsberger did not have any criminal backgrounds that would have identified them as security threats. And Turo says every renter is screened through a multi-layered data science-based trust and safety process. So is there anything that could have been caught here with regards to the app? It doesn't seem so, but what is your reaction?
Well, it doesn't seem so, but one thing that rather astonishes me is that one of these individuals, I believe it was the one in New Orleans, for example, had videos posted. We always tell people, you see something, say something.
Exactly.
I find it hard to believe that no one else saw those videos. Somebody should have said something. And then again, we get back to our electronic surveillance, especially on the internet from our law agencies. So there are a lot of missing links here, a lot of questions that need to be answered. But at the end of the day, the FBI was too quick to come to the microphone and draw conclusions. They need to do a little bit more investigating before they feed the American people information.
Right. And there are questions about the neighborhood that he lived in Houston, and if maybe that neighborhood, that community is now drawing ranks around itself and to not cooperate with investigators. So anyway, Lieutenant Steve Rogers, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Okay, so interesting. Let's chop that up, and then I'm going to get out of here.
See everything that's
because I'll never get off this live stream if I don't. We'll go back to that for just a second. Pertaining to the Tesla incident. Elon Musk, supporter of Donald Trump. Okay, let's connect the dots. Tesla connected to Elon Musk. Okay, connect the dots here. Let's see if we can get a picture up of the man. If they show a picture of him up here. Hello, everybody. Because I don't like making statements myself unless you know what you're talking about, because it's easy to assume stuff. So I'm trying to get a picture of the guy. I don't think they're going to show me anything. Okay, this is Tesla. Let's connect it. Both served at Fort Bragg. Both in good standing with the military. U.S. Army. Allegedly both went to Afghanistan in 2009. Hadn't heard that they were in the same unit at Fort Bragg or in Afghanistan. Both used an app to rent trucks to go exact crimes. Both were moving around on Monday. Now we hear the app is known to many people. I never heard of the app, so see, you can only speak for people who know the app. I don't know anything about it, just heard about it when all this happened. Okay? Did these two know each other? Family members say he's a Trump supporter, but yet he's in a Tesla, which is orchestrated, owned, whatever, by Elon Musk, however it goes. Maybe he stopped liking Trump, Elon Musk. Stay woke. What was the political affiliation of Mr. JABBAR? Don't know, haven't heard. Mental issues, problems, PTSD, schizophrenia, bipolar. What did this man have going on? Married, children, how was he living? Where did he work? Any suspect posts? ISIS, Al-Qaeda, negativity towards American government. Got to find that out. JABBAR, nice guy, quiet, stay to himself, mind his own business. Work, six-figure income, but yet he's living in squalor in a trailer. Do the math. Started going downward, posting things about ISIS at some point. That's where there's the problem with that, Mr. JABBAR. If you saw posts, you should have flagged them and reported them to the FBI. See something, say something. So you got one person saying, well, he was a devout Muslim. He talked about Muslim, but never said anything threatening. But now we have posts he went and put up the morning of. So what's the truth? He supported ISIS publicly on New Year's Day or beforehand? Because if we find out he put up posts supporting ISIS before the 1st, then that's a problem. That means nobody called in or Facebook allowed him to spew his commentary, whatever that might have been. So that's how you get to the gist of connecting these two, if at all there's a connection. Had they ever met? Did they talk offline? Did they meet in a military group? Did they meet in a Veterans Affairs type association? So you got to try to connect. But it is odd they both served at Fort Bragg, both young, under 50, and somehow went about exacting crimes out of their state through an app. That is creepy and strange. Call it what you want. That is strange. But you don't see anybody else in the car. Nobody was found in his car when it blew up. Same thing with JABBAR. Nobody was in his car when he jumped out to shoot the police and was shot dead. So those are two as well. Two men, one white, one black, in rented trucks through Turo, exacting crimes alone in their cars. Now, they could have talked, met, consorted with other people to do this crime, that's where the FBI comes in to prove it. You got to prove it. You got to prove others knew of the crime, consorted with them on the crime, gave advice about the crime. But in the end, if you find out that other people talked to them, they told other people about their ideas, you will cite them for not coming forward with information to exact bodily harm. That's where that charge will come in. But once again, you got to prove it. So will they find something on this Caucasian man? He told people what he was going to do. Okay? Number 2, Jabbar told someone, but they didn't come forward. You got to prove it. That's where this case, both cases are going. Proof of consorting from others. Proof they told somebody. Proof somebody aided. Help put the cans in the back and the fireworks. Same thing with Jabbar. Help them with the IEDs, so on and so forth. Prove, prove, prove. That's where we are right now. So far, each jurisdiction is saying the same about the other one. That we don't have any proof these two are connected in any way. Is it strange? A strange coincidence? Both served at Fort Bragg, both in the military. One left out honorably, Mr. Jabbar. Very. Family says this guy's a Trump supporter, but yet he's outside of Trump's establishment in a Tesla. Elon Musk is connected to Trump. Trump's supposed to be appointing Elon Musk in some type of position at the White House, or the government rather. What's this man upset about that? Don't want Elon Musk being involved in the government. As I was telling Mary, why? Why would you want to get involved? Mary says, oh, it's about power. Possibly, but he's a billionaire. So that little bit of chump change he's going to make as some financial advisor, currency, whatever the hell the position is, it ain't nothing. So Mary's going on about contracts and this and that. Like I said, there'll be somebody watching Elon Musk. You can believe that. So if there are any improprieties, somebody will call it. Now, will he go down for it if he do something he ain't got no business? That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. But why the Tesla in front of Trump? Yeah, I see a correlation with that. The Tesla and the Trump location. So the parents are saying, family, oh, he liked Trump, blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe he likes Trump, but he don't like Elon Musk. See, I don't know. And he's dead, so how are we going to ask him? We can't ask him. So now we got to talk to his friends, associates. Look in his data, iPads, phones, separate phones, what you see, who we talk to, any type of rants, manifesto left behind, political affiliation. What did he tell people about personal problems, the world, military? Did he vote? Ding, ding, ding. Jabbar, same thing. Did he vote? That's the one thing you ain't heard. Did these men vote the last election? Did they vote? Did they talk about politics on social media? Trump, Biden, state government, military. Were they both angry with the military? See, you have to ask questions. Oh, there's always buildup. That's the whole point. That's what everybody's missing. We're just looking at this visual shit. Tesla, white man building. Jabbar, white truck, app, mowing people down. But as you said, which is so true, they didn't just wake up today and say, oh, I'm going to go rent this Tesla and park it in front of Donald Trump's hotel. Oh, I'm not going to just rent this truck and drive from Texas to Louisiana, mow down some people in New Orleans. He could have done this where he lives. Ding, 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 ding. Why not get in your own damn car and blow it up? Same thing with Jabbar. Could have gotten your car and blew it up somewhere in Houston. That's why I tell people, always pay attention to the details, because that is where your information comes in to play. Motive. So they don't have a motive for him, and they don't have a motive for Jabbar. In time, they will try to assess a motive. But I think it's just like what JB has said in the chat. There was a buildup for both men, both probably unhappy with life, family members, relationships, finances, work, people, the world, military, so on and so forth. And on one fateful day, they decided to put the ball into motion. Could be happenstance. These two just happened to went to Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty. I don't know. But it do look suspicious. Looks very suspicious. Turo app, yeah, because they could have rented a car through Budget Enterprise. Come on, let's keep it real. That's very suspicious. You go to this app to rent a car through another person? Strange to me. Because I know when I rent cars, I don't go through an app and I don't go look for somebody with a car. Never thought about it, never heard of it. So to say it's been around since 2002, 12, whatever, it means nothing because I ain't heard of it. Because I don't stay on social media looking up stuff, trying to figure out this app, that app. I don't really care for social media and apps and shit. No way. Everybody knows how I rock. I can do without all this. I done told myself last night, the way I was feeling dealing with these devices, I could take them out and throw them in the damn garbage and keep it moving. But you all like visuals. So my laptop, I can't put this on it. It's a Chromebook. It was a gift years ago. And like I told people when I came to YouTube, I really wasn't trying to do all that anyway. I just came to talk, gab, talk about the world, jump off. But you all like visuals because that's the world we live in. People want to see stuff on the screen while the hostess speaks. That's what gets the views and the likes. But in my mind, it's all a damn headache. Just keeping it real. I'm an au natural storyteller. I like to think of myself as the way they told stories back in the day. Sitting in a nice velvet, comfortable chair with a blanket over your lap, spinning a tale. You know, old-fashioned storytelling. But it works for some YouTubers, some it don't. But here we are. Is there a correlation between the two men? Do they know each other? Have they spoken before? Have they met? We also learned that Mr. Jabbar traveled to Egypt. When was that? Who did he see? Who did he visit? What happened on that trip? Did he take somebody with him? Did he bring somebody back? Who was the man that was staying in his house and on his property New Year's Day when the feds went there to raid the house? Who was that dark-haired man? Is he Muslim, from America, abroad? Who all was in the house? Who were the people staying in the house? Did he give the house over to somebody else? They also said he had a last will and testament. Who has he left his personal? So if he wanted to kill his family, I don't see that he left his family anything. Pay attention. So who is in the will as the receiver of Mr. Jabbar's personal effects? 3 children, 3 marriages, but yet he wanted to kill somebody. So use deduction on who you think he wanted to murder. And instead of murdering them, he said, well, I'm going to go to New Orleans and mow these people down because I want the message to be clear and understood about believers versus non-believers, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. So basically he's saying what? The people in his family are non-believers and the people in New Orleans are non-believers. Because that's what he's saying. I forfeited one group over another. So I scratched the family kill to kill the people in New Orleans. So what message was he sending by murdering the people in New Orleans? I'm confused. Sodom and Gomorrah? Music? As I brought you content in this live, feel free to go back. He had a problem with music. Instruments. Satan's voice is what he called it. And that is where they play music, is on Bourbon Street and other streets in New Orleans. New Orleans is a big supporter of music. Exactly. You don't know. That's true. Let me say this, and I'm going to finally get off this live. I got a feeling that Mr. Jabbar was mentally unstable just from that comment about the music. Because the music doesn't have anything to do with Allah, Muslim, his wives, his children. Has nothing to do with those people on Bourbon Street. Has nothing to do with nothing. That showed me he was unraveling. Because in order for you to say music instruments affect the heart and it's not Allah's way, that tells me something was wrong with him. Because the music is just what it is. It's just notes and a beat. It doesn't have feet. It don't got legs. It don't got no mouth. It don't got ears. It don't got nothing. A piano has no value until a person sits behind the keys and play. Flute, saxophone, electric guitar, keyboard, piccolo, cello. Do you see where I'm going? He probably was hearing voices. Stay woke now. And another thing I find interesting in my little digging this morning, the two white men who spoke on the news also have affiliations with New Orleans, the ones who spoke on his behalf. I'm not trying to say they are involved in anything. I'm just throwing it out there. Okay? And I have reached out to both men and none of them have replied. Probably don't want to talk to the Queen. That's fine. But I wanted to hear them if they'd like to come on this network and give their opinion pertaining to their comrade and what they knew of him and how he behaved in the military. You are free to contact the Queen at the Vault XL and also contact me Messenger. There was something wrong with him and nobody knew. Somebody may have suspected, but they didn't dwell on it. 3 failed marriages in 12 years. I think all of you can multiply 4 times 3. 3 times 4. 3 marriages since 2012. $27,000 debt. Couldn't make a $1,450 house payment, which makes no sense. $120,000 salary, and he can't even pay $1,500 in rent. Do the math. Paying because I don't want to pay is different than I don't have the means to pay. Checkmate. Credit card debt, choice. Taking out loans, line of credit, car loans, choice. Getting a loan for a house, can't pay it, choice. You don't want to pay it, still your choice. Anybody follow me? I got a feeling he did things to try to stay afloat. Maybe at one point, living like the Joneses, or trying to please these women, he got in over his head. So he kept going from woman to woman, woman to woman. Didn't want to be alone, because that's what this is looking like. 3 times in 12 years you're married. This looks like a very lonely man. He was lonely, looking for love, so he tried to do the right thing by marrying the women. Don't want to be out here making babies? Okay, get a wife, make a baby. But the marriages didn't work. Was he a good husband, good provider? Don't know. But people right now are saying he was a good guy, had a nice attitude. He was helpful. Neighbors. So far, nobody's saying anything bad about Jabbar. But that has nothing to do with mental state. You could be a very nice person, but you are mentally inept. You are schizophrenic. You are bipolar. You have alternate personality disorder. And whenever you go from being a nice guy to saying, I want to kill my family, maybe people didn't really know Jabbar. Because nothing should have gotten that bad that you would even say that in a video before killing people. Hey, just letting you know, if you find this video, I don't like you very much and I want you dead. So what did these people do so terrible to him that he wanted to kill them, whoever they are? And let me tell you something. That's a hell of a burden to carry around, knowing somebody wanted your ass dead and they went and killed somebody else instead of you. So now those people are sitting here thinking that was going to be me. But he changed his mind. And as I had a Muslim on my panel the other day speaking, Mr. Muhammad, he said, well, something made him change his mind. Perhaps he realized he really loved his family. Maybe he felt like, oh, this is going against Allah's law. But then that don't make no sense because Allah doesn't promote murder. Period. Allah doesn't promote murder at all. So you can't say he changed his mind out of love. But then it said he went and killed the people in New Orleans. But then Muhammad said, well, he didn't have nothing invested in them. So he went on and killed them. But then that's hypocritical too, because that comment don't make no sense now that I sit here and think about it. He killed those people in New Orleans because he ain't got nothing invested, but just a few minutes ago, he wanted to kill his family, who he had something invested in. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Exactly. Perhaps he was a sociopath. And funny you would say that perspective because I was thinking about saying that. Sociopath, psychopath. And I'm going to go ahead and say that, and I'm glad you said that. It must have been meant for you to be in the chat. That is what a psychopath, sociopath, that's what they are. They are liars. They are deceivers. We learned this with Lori Vallow Daybell, the other crazy lady that locked her kids in the closet and they found them down there in the desert at her girlfriend's house. I'm emulating what is expected of me. That's a sociopath and a psychopath. Ted Bundy was a sociopath. People thought he was nice. He was involved with the Republican Party. He was volunteering at the suicide hotline. Now, put that together. Oh, thank you. You're talking to young women and men about killing themselves at a university, but yet you're stalking women and following them around and abducting them, raping them, and throwing them out into the woods. Stay woke. So now when we say, oh, the news has talked to a few people who say JABBAR was a nice guy. He was mannerable. He was friendly. He was helpful. He possibly was just what somebody's saying. He was a sociopath or a psychopath. Or he was a really nice guy who popped off. Take your pick. Which one was he? Nice guy who lost his way? Or a guy who was pretending to be happy and nice, but always had deviant thoughts and deviant ways? And maybe we'll find out that perhaps he was a psychopath or sociopath, and he was doing things that nobody knows he was doing. Are we going to find out there's more to Mr. JABBAR? Because in the divorce decree, the wife accuses him of fraud in trying to pay her child support. So that would lead me to believe he was either doctoring documents or falsifying something. Maybe he wrote bad checks. I don't know. But she accused him of fraud. And then 2 years ago, he caught a theft charge, misdemeanor. Don't know what that theft is. They have not told us. And that's why they should. And although 12 versus 12, 13 years is not the same, but you understand, people would like to know to see if it, what type of crime he committed. But so far, there's nothing violent in his history as offensive and arrest record. But as I told you, just because you don't have a violent history, beating people up, cutting people, grand theft, larceny, all those type of things, it don't mean he wasn't doing things wrong, but he just didn't get caught. Stay woke. Because everything has to lead to somewhere in the end. And we have seen this with many people. And that's the one thing you always hear. He was a nice guy. She was a nice lady. I had no idea. That's my point. You weren't supposed to know. They put on a face of a clown, but was crying on the inside. And they were but had not been caught. That could be Mr. Jabbar's story. Or he was an all-around great guy, but just popped off. Lost control. Slow burn to the abyss. Now, white man, don't know his story, don't know what was going on with him. I'll do more research and come back and we'll talk about this Cybertruck bomber, who he is, what's his story, finances, marriages, kids, relationships, sexual preference, all that's going to matter to how he got there in that Tesla and sat outside the Trump Hotel, killed himself, detonating the truck. Something was wrong with him as well. He killed himself. He was sending a message as well in front of that building in that Tesla. Jabbar was sending a message as well. And nobody knows the messages of either. And Jabbar was gunned down instead of killing himself. What were these two men trying to tell the universe? Is he or was he affiliated with a religious sect, group, political affiliation? What's his story? Did he know Jabbar? Did they ever talk online, offline, in person? What are we going to find out about his life, his journey versus Jabbar's journey? Underground groups, underground veteran groups that possibly don't like America, hate America. What are we going to find out? It's going to be interesting if we find out both had a distaste for the military. Because we have seen how our government treats our veterans, and they do not treat them well. We are just now getting more help for veterans as far as medical, mental, housing, schooling, and it's a long time coming. And that would be a horrible place to be, is feeling some type of way about the military after you have served for them. And then you get doused with gasoline when you come out. You can't get help. You can't get mental help. You got to drive 3 hours to the next hospital. So if you didn't know, we have more veteran offices here in Knoxville. We have a veteran hospital in Johnson City, which is just 2 hours up the highway. Then we have a hospital in Nashville, Tennessee for our veterans. So if you live anywhere in between, you're going to have to find a way to get to these locations to get yourself some mental care. And that's going to be a problem depending on how many people, beds they have for the veterans. Transportation. A lot of homeless. A lot of veterans are mentally ill, have PTSD. We are at a crisis with our veterans, with people in general. Knoxville has a high population at the moment of homeless people sitting at 1,900. I'm sure some of those are veterans. We have a new veteran apartment complex that just broke bread here in Knoxville, broke ribbon rather, cut the ribbon. But the point is there's probably more people wish they had gotten that apartment, if you understand what I'm saying. We have a housing crisis here in Knoxville, Tennessee and the surrounding area. As you're hearing with other places in the United States, we are in a crisis in America, period. We have a migration issue. People coming in and nowhere to house them, nowhere to put them, and they also are violent offenders. They have committed crimes while being here, as you saw the debacle in New York a year ago. Trashing the streets, trashing the hotels, hurting people, fighting the police, and then the crime that took place with the college girl in Georgia. That veteran traveled from out west, took up in Georgia, and ended up killing a college student. And also the inference of Mexicans in this story is disrespectful by the upcoming president, because the Mexicans didn't have anything to do with this story or the story in New Orleans. This is why people need to think before speaking. Know your shit before you put it out. And my thing about that, the wall should have been put up if we're going to go there. Too many people have been president while Mexican people were running in the country. So everybody can shut up about that wall business, because we've had different presidents and nobody put up the wall. So to keep pointing fingers is ridiculous. Mexican people didn't just start coming in 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 20 years ago. They've been running into the country for probably 60 or so years. So if anybody was concerned about the southern border, our government has had ample enough time to put up adequate walls, literally concrete, for the people to not be able to make way into the United States. Not metal bars that people can squeeze between, as I've watched on the YouTube video. Concrete. Disrespecting properties of Texans, arresting an old man for shooting at people on his property, littering and loitering. He don't know these people. He don't know what they're capable of. He has every right to protect his property. You see, we have our own issues at hand that needs to be rectified. We are an ailing country. We have a lot of sick stuff going on. And this is one of them. Mental illness. And that's something you cannot curb. You cannot make somebody get treatment. You cannot make somebody take their meds. And that's where we have the violence. Because people who are schizophrenic, they act out because of what the voice is telling them in their head. And that's why we have a lot of people who are now dead, who had confronted or been confronted by law enforcement. So you see, we have a lot of things going on. But the Mexican situation has nothing to do with the Tesla or the white truck in New Orleans. Let's make that clear. These were two different men who decided to exact violence. No Mexican in sight, on site. So it's disrespectful to even bring the migration up in these two situations, or the one in New Orleans. But that is what you're getting ready to hear the next 4 years. That same type of rhetoric and misinformation. Sad. Exactly. Follow the Queen on the Newsbreak app. Take the polls on my community page. Like, share, subscribe. Drop your comments below this video. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BigAngie129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live. Thank you, Sky, for Super Chat. I'll be back with more stimulating content and commentary. Last check, Jay-Z was told by a judge that he can go forward in trying to file for dismissal of the charges of SA from a woman who claims he sexually assaulted her when she was 13 years old back in 2000 alongside Sean Puffy Combs. That's the information I just got. Bourbon Street is now open. Sugar Bowl has taken place. Notre Dame won against Georgia. Things are back to normal. Obviously, they're putting precautions into those streets down there with bollards, praying that nothing else terrible happens down there or anywhere else. But as you know, there will be another copycat and copycat. There will be somebody else that's going to follow ISIS, Al-Qaeda, radical groups, racist groups. That's just people. You just have to pray you won't be caught in the crossfire. That you have to be aware of your faculties, the company you keep, and when you see something that looks suspect, call it in. Because what's going to be jacked up, somebody saw him talking crazy on a platform and they didn't flag it. They didn't report it to authorities. They sat and watched and listened. That's what's going to be jacked up. So did he, JABBAR, post any type of allegiance to ISIS publicly before January 1st? That's what I'd like to know. You take care too, sweetheart. Thank you so much. JB, Sky Maiden, Skyla, Perspective. Thank you all for joining me. You all have a wonderful weekend. Please check out my live stream last night pertaining to Sebastian Rogers. I'll probably come back this weekend and we're going to chop up my commentary from that live where I ended it by saying the child didn't walk into the house. What other options are there? Because police say no dog trail, no scent, no CCTV of the child going in or coming out. So what are your options? So I'm going to say this to jumpstart the next live. He either didn't return to Stafford Court with his mother from the steakhouse and went somewhere else to be handed off, disposed of, or he did make it back to Stafford Court unalived and put in something and carried out. And you're not hearing law officials tell you that somebody at that house, parent, took him out in a tub, a bag, or he was put in a trash bag and trash emptied him out. Which is it? Because it can't be one or the other. There aren't many options. No scent. How can there be no scent and you live there? Say, well, so have law officials been lying to the public about CCTV footage? They do have footage. And it shows somebody pulling up to the house, picking up a package, coming back out with a package, mother leaving the house, but you can't see what she put in her car because she parked it in the garage. Which is it? That's my commentary. You have been listening to The Vault Cell.